Okay, so you got to like take that how I give myself like I'm like it's okay. There you go, yeah. So you have like a color.
Well, right now, I have no choice, like I'm already married, bare minimum, but all things. I'm like, yeah. Starting out like, yeah. I was like,
I like it.
I feel more like I like and there's all that
But normally I'll have like, I like most milk.
All right, as you're getting ready, you'll need your Pancha Maya Kosha model notes. I wish I'd written down where they are, but I didn't. So maybe start looking for those. I think it might be around, I don't know. Sorry, usually I write it down. Yeah. You'll look for like circles within each other will be the model for it for the koshas. And then I think right after that is a chart or like a, it'll say like Anamaya kosha, food sheath, physical body stability, asana. It's so hot in here. 6.4. Sounds right.
Yes.
All right. Let's get ready. I'll give you more time to get into that too, but let's pull some prana. Yeah, sound good? Okay. Do you remember how to do all 3 steps? Yep, arms up and overhead, palms forward, high peg. If you need my attention, wave me down today, by the way, or just unmute yourself if I don't see you. Okay, pumping the stomach, right? And when we exhale, we make fists and pull it down. Inhale, open the hands up and come back up. Do about 15 or 20. Find your own pace. You're 300-hour students. You can find what's right for you. Ready? Inhale and begin. Imagining you're actually grabbing prana and pulling it in through the crown of the head, down into the body. And when you feel fairly energized, rest for a moment, hands on your knees. Let your heart rate slow down a bit, but notice just what that gathering of prana feels like. All right, now we take it and we focus it. You'll make fists right in front of the navel, but not in belly button. Knuckles touch. You could do knuckles up or down. It just kind of depends. Just see what kind of comes to you. Don't think about it too much. You'll inhale, hold, retain the breath for a while. Get a little uncomfortable, but not to where you feel like you're going to pass out. Then bring your hands down and breathe. Okay, inhale. Breath retention. Little bit of pressure of the knuckles toward each other. Pull in lightly at Uddiyana Bandha. So the belly, the core is engaged, holding you upright, lifting the chest. When you are ready, bring your hands down. And just notice again how your energy has shifted. You feel like doing the last one? You feeling it? Okay, you can stay here if this feels good and like you're still focused but energized, or you can join us palms up. This is the one you're going to want to do the Kapalabhati, but instead it's a breath retention again, right? So inhale here and start grabbing the prana and pulling it in. Not Kapalabhati though, it's a retention. Happens every time, don't worry. And you just hold the breath until you feel like you're going to pass out. Just kidding. Don't hold it that long. Just until you feel energized and a little like, oh, that's pushing my boundaries a little, and then rest. Bring it back in. Close your eyes, settle. As you're settling here, just see how much unnecessary energy you can dispel right now. Can you let go of any worries, any little knots of anticipation or planning, or what am I going to eat for lunch in the body? Can you just let those soften, and can you find one moment here of total relaxation, of completely letting go, of being so present that you are completely trusting of the unknown? You're not thinking about what happened, and you're not planning about how you'll deal with the future. You're just relaxed and safe right now. Make an intention here, a promise to yourself to stay present when you see yourself slipping into overwhelm, anxiety, concern for the future today. Be aware of it and then offer it up. That's karma yoga, that's bhakti yoga. All right, open your eyes. Hi, all. Good to see you today. Happy Sunday. You look light and bright for a Sunday, for a 300-hour Sunday. Sometimes the energy in here is just like, are you a little tired, Lacey? Lacey's got a little gray energy there. I know, that's what I'm trying to wake you up with this. I know, it's like yoga nidra and now learn the rest of the day. Great, thanks. That is why I'm saving. Normally I do a meditation with you right now, but I'm going to save it until the very end of the day so that if it does zone you out too much, I won't be the one trying to, like, needing to get the water bottle and squirt you. Like, wake up, please stay with me. Stay with me. So I love getting to be a part of this with you and getting to teach this stuff, or whatever, talk about it with you today. It's going to be setting up the basis of the system we will use for working with your clients. And as you may already know, as a yoga teacher, once you become a yoga teacher, whether you're someone who in your profession, right, like Maria, you work one-on-one with people a lot, but have you had this experience where you tell people I'm a yoga teacher and they're like, oh, what should I do about my back? Right. Like all the time, right? So that actually is an avenue for you to start to explore how to work with people one-on-one. And even if you don't want to, likely there will be a day where someone you love is going to come to you and you're going to want to know how to help them, right? Even if it's not a thing where you want to hang your shingle and do it professionally, or even in your own life. So I really love this work we get to do with private clients. I think, I said this Friday, but really try to stay present and take it bit by bit. Students can spin out and get into this whole like, oh my gosh, how am I going to heal this person? Well, we're not going to heal anyone. We're going to give them some tools that can empower them to create a change in their own body, mind, spirit, whatever you want to call this whole complex themselves. And that's all you got to do. And you have already more knowledge than you think. That's part of what we'll work on today, is building that yoga tool bag. And then you're going to get today the models that we'll use that will set you up. We will talk about how to actually use these next weekend. So today, when we talk about the Pancha Kosha model, which is what we'll do this morning, and then the Vayus, which we'll do, I believe that's right after lunch. Just get the concepts. Don't start thinking of, how am I going to do this? Okay, my client has this, and this going on. I mean, if that comes to you, great, but we'll talk more about that next month. Yeah. Sound good? Just getting the concepts, this weekend is our plan. We use the Pancha Maya Kosha model, which, did you say that was in section 6.4 in your manual? Thank you. And in that section, do you have both the circles within the circles and then following it, the, Anamaya Kosha, food sheet, yeah, okay, great. A couple of the things are separated out, and I wanted to make sure that that was not. So the Anamaya Kosha model comes from the Taittiriya Upanishad. It is really what Raja Yoga is based upon. So the Yoga Sutras in Sutra 1.31 discuss how there's 9 like obstacles to reaching a yogic state, and then there's ways that they show up in us. So there's like disease, dullness, doubt, overreaching into the senses, misunderstanding, inability to reach yogic states, inability to retain yogic states. Oh, and I forgot, sloth is one of them. So all of these are obstacles to feeling our best in life too, to having a healthy, just being healthy all around, because health really does help us to obtain yogic states too. And that's why yoga, that's kind of where this overlay happens. We, at least in the systems of yoga we're doing, we're not renouncing everything, including like putting our body through really hardcore austerities. We want to keep it healthy so we can live a long life, so we can do practices so that we don't get interrupted, by disease, pain, things like this. So the Pancha Maya Kosha model, it's a model, and we use the word model because it's just a way of trying to, in the human brain, kind of slice and dice what makes up a human and another human and another human. What are the common ways to look at it so that we can deal with the person holistically? Okay. The model looks a little, you can see kind of like the Russian stacking dolls, right? Where it's often shown as these 3 circles. Not 3, just kidding. I'm thinking 3 that I want to talk about. Do you have, I can't remember how we did this one, do you have 5 or 6?
Well, 5 and then here, this is.
You have Atman separate, a pure consciousness in the middle. Okay, yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Pancha means 5. Pancha, if you see it spelled this way with just a C ever, the C always makes a ch sound, like chakra. Chakra is spelled C-A-K-R-A. It looks like Kakra or something. Pancha Maya Kosha. Maya, of course, is illusion. Kosha is still pronounced with the SH sound. Pancha Maya Kosha. Kosha means sheath. So these are the 5 sheaths that cover who we are, our deep and abiding true nature. And that the further out we go, the denser they get. So we are also kind of looking at that. I mean, we really are, in a weird way, not in a weird way, but in a way, looking also at that model of Prakriti, right? So from the innermost being, the Purusha, we could call this, to the most dense matter of just the physical body. is what this model is covering. And when we are in yoga education, by the way, don't call this yoga therapy. Yoga Alliance really does not like that. Plus, you have to have a certification for your yoga therapy. I will tell you, I have this and I never use the term yoga therapy ever. Therapy implies a lot of things that this is not. In yoga education with people, working with clients one-on-one, we are really trying to empower them to do things that will work on all levels on themselves. We are not diagnosing anything, as therapy sometimes can apply to certain clients, and we are not from the outside in healing anything. We are saying, here's some tools. Let's see if this alleviates some of your suffering. These, and we'll talk more about this next month. The symptoms are, even when it's diagnosed elsewhere. So a person comes in and says, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 8 years old, and I want some tools to support me with this. We only use that to be like, okay, now what does that look like for you? So we are looking at symptomatically, how do we use yoga to deal with these symptoms of suffering? We don't say we're using yoga to deal with ADHD. We don't, once they come in, we drop the label. We don't worry about it. So just my little disclaimer about don't use the term yoga therapy. It's not very helpful anyway, I don't think. I want to point out these. Has anyone heard of these koshas before? You have a slightly different system in Kundalini, Peg. You have the 10 bodies, right? You'll see some overlap. Again, and you'll all learn the 10 bodies with Shanti when she comes in July. And it's just, again, there's different ways the human mind has kind of zoomed out and been like, oh, here's how we can divide this up so that we can work with it. And this is one way of doing it. The first three, or outermost three, so from here to here, these are the ones that hold all the trauma. So when we are not, and then these two here are the closest to the Purusha and are the ones that we really want to get in with and connect with more and more. So these three out here, we have, I'm just going to put an A there for Annamaya. It looks like Anna, but it's Anna. Anna Maya Kosha, which is the physical body. We have Pranamaya Kosha, which is the subtle energy or subtle body or energetic body. And then we have the Manomaya Kosha, which it's the mind body. These three are where Gregor Male again talks. I'm quoting him a lot this week, and I'm just kind of on a kick with his books right now. So it shows up in my teaching. He points out the Raja Yoga practices, right? So all of our 8 limbs, and in particular, the meditation practices, I'm going to put concentration in with that, because that is part of it, right? That's supposed to say concentration. It doesn't, but it's supposed to. Meditation, samadhi, I'm going to lump in under meditation too. Like they kind of all go together, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi. But we also have, of course, well, what do we have? Should we review the 8 limbs real quick? Have you had them recently? Okay, what's the first limb? No,
Yeah.
it's the yamas, then the niyamas. Yeah. And then we start moving, so we get 10 things just within that, right? And then what do we have? Asana. So we're gonna have asana will work with these. Then what do we have? Pranayama will work with these. And the one I didn't say is pratyahara, right? Which is the sense withdrawal, which is really a piece of all. It's a way we need to live in life, watching how much we're engaging in the senses and indulging them, but also it's an ongoing, we talked about that day one with our yoga meditation. We are even drawing in the subtle senses. Okay, so these are dealing with these three. And those three, the mind, the body, and the energy body, including respiratory patterns, they are intricately linked, and they are where, I mean, everything, our conditioning, which is the vasanas, the subconscious imprints, the samskaras, our trauma, which is karma. They're all stored in these bodies. So when we are working in yoga, we will never just be like, I mean, some yoga people will, but I don't think they're actually, I would call it more physical therapy than yoga. They're just giving people asanas or movements for a joint, without breath and without some of these other practices, where we may mask what's happening, but if it has a deeper, if it's coming from a deeper area, which it is in yoga always, then it's just going to pop up elsewhere. Okay. And it becomes like whack-a-mole, where the person becomes so symptomatic and has so many things going on, because it's just being treated on a very surface level. Okay. Questions, comments so far? Bless you.
Can you repeat, there's pure consciousness and anima, maya, kosha, and the first two koshas, mana, maya is mind and body.
We will go into these all now
Oh,
in
I'm
great
sorry.
detail. Yeah, that was just an overview, a quick overview. So now we're going to get into that.
Okay.
So let's look at the section where you do have, it says Anamaya Kosha. And then you have, oh, I didn't bring my quote from the Taittiriya Upanishad. I think you have it in there, right? Did I bring it? I did bring it. It's here. Okay. Will someone just read what it says about that first little couple sentences, human beings?
Human beings consist of a material body, but from the food they eat, those who care for this body are nourished by the universe itself.
And that's Anamaya. So Anamaya Kosha is, the first thing I have under here is the actual translation, food sheath. It is so what can we know it as? We can know it as the physical body. The next thing under each of these, I put what it kind of the gift it brings us. And of course, stability. It'd be very hard to have a human experience without a body. Right? It holds us here in one place and makes us even more a being of space and time and of matter, so that we can move through space and time and have a set sequence of events that we go through and learn from. So the way we typically work with it, it makes sense, right? Which of the 8 limbs do we use? Asana. We will talk more about that in more detail, but eventually. But the next section I have, you'll be filling out. It says signs of health and dis-ease. Just meaning like it's off. It's not quite right. We're not, again, trying to diagnose anything, but what are some signs we know that show that the Anamaya Kosha is in a pretty good state? What's something we might, endurance? Yeah. And also I'll add to that, you'll see pretty quickly with pranamaya, because that's the energy body. So some people say you can't affect Anamaya at all. It's just a slab of meat. It's really just pranamaya you're working with, because it brings the energy to it. It brings the life to it. And while that's true, I think it's okay to dice it up a little. We could say endurance is also part of pranamaya, right? If we have energy leaks, we don't have endurance. But yeah, endurance is a great sign of health or well-being with this. What else?
how someone's complexion.
Yeah, you might actually be able to just kind of see it from the outside in, that there's a you know, it just looks like they're not like on day 3 of yoga teacher training with dark circles under their eyes and like a gray pallor, like, oh, please let it end. Right? They have kind of a different sort of look. Not that you have that, I'm just teasing, but I know that feeling myself from these trainings.
How about, can I share? Can I share?
Yeah.
How about like lack of disease? Like, so your body's functioning the way they should.
Right? A lack of complaints, lack of pain, just things functioning well. The systems working together well, right? You go in and you get your measurements taken for your blood oxygen, your whatever all these are, you know, blood pressure, heart rate, whatever these things are, and they're all looking pretty good. And you get a blood glucose test and it's great, whatever the thing is, you know, there's a feeling good in the body sense to it. There's also a lightness in the body versus even though it gives us stability, you know what it's like when your body feels too rigid and stiff. You might be feeling that after 3 days of teacher training, ironically, but it's a lot of sitting. So there's, you know, the signs of health might be it's pain-free, whereas a sign of some trouble there might be pain, might be physical diagnoses. We get the idea pretty well. Yeah, what else?
Would like being able to sense and identify like hunger cues?
Yeah.
Be part of this, or would that be more energy?
I mean, yeah, I could see either, but you could definitely put that here, ability to sense and understand hunger pains. And again, that might be one that is also in the mind, because the ability to cognize what's happening in the body, you know, there's going to be overlap is all I'm saying. It doesn't matter too much and I'll remind you of this next month, when you're working with a client, don't overthink it. As long as you get everything down somewhere, it's going to work out. You'll see when we get into how we do it. Anything else you want to add to this one? I have, there's like that, a feeling of strength in the body, right? Like, and I don't mean like, rah, like, you know, you're whatever, but there's a balance and there's strength and lightness. We can feel it. When we don't feel well, we tend to feel weaker in the body. The body just is weaker. Again, this might be pranamaya. Okay. Yes.
With digestion, you
Yeah, we could, you know, I mean, I think the body systems we could put under here or pranamaya. Really, I'm fine either way. It just, as long as they get in there, so biological functions, digestion, menstrual
We
cycle.
even have it breaks and
I'm sorry.
nothing.
Okay. You could put those under either one, would be fine. Cardiovascular, all of these things. I think of them maybe a little more under prana because of the way they operate, so maybe the organs themselves more specifically are under anamaya. Anyhow. Anything else you want to add or ask?
It kind of goes off yours, where if you're looking at somebody and their posture is generally one way or the other, and you can just make a
Yeah,
reflexive judgment, like, oh, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
posture and even the way we hold our faces, like a face that's in pain and not feeling well is different. So there are things we can assess from the outside to a degree. We don't want to make guesses, but then we can ask and say, you know, we're not going to be like, so I notice you're really hunching over and you look miserable. You wouldn't say that, but you can use that as a clue to get a little more conversation going around that. Great. Okay, so the next section will be thinking about questions to ask ourselves mentally, or maybe the people we're talking to assess the health of this kosha. The most basic one, and I want you to come up with some, and some are actually as you look at the intake form, you'll notice some of these are woven throughout your intake form, right? So one is just, how does this present physically? That's an important one. And like you were just talking about, it might be one we just kind of observe. If they come to us with feelings of depression and we're just noticing physically this, right? Then we might want to say, how does your neck and your back feel? Because we know that doesn't feel good to go around like this, right? Or do you have any physical pains too? We always want to, even though we're talking about this kind of main thing they came in for, it will have a physical impact. How great that is, it depends at the lower layers, it kind of depends just how bad those have gotten, really. It'll bubble up more in this model, in this way of looking at things from a holistic context. So how does this present physically? And this also is on your intake form too. It might be worded a little differently, but are there actions that increase or decrease the pain, the feeling, the sensation? So we want to know, like, sometimes it just is because of something they're doing all day, every day, like sitting on a chair that's inappropriate, right? And so then, but then can that work in and add to it because they feel bad? You know, if you have depression and you're sitting in a chair and it's hurting your body all day. So again, the outside can affect inwardly also. And I'm just going to give you the ones I have. You might have more, but just for this first one to get you an idea of kind of what we're talking about here. You might, if you're talking about anxiety, worry, the word for some people is stress. They don't identify anxiety as anxiety. They feel it as stress or overwhelm, and that's their label. But where do you feel that in your body? So it doesn't even have to be anything until you're talking to them that they're aware of. They might be like, oh, I really tighten up in my belly. So it might not be on their intake form like, oh, I have upset stomach digestion type issues, and they may not. But if that's where they're tightening up, eventually it might really turn into that. And so if we can start to work with this area now too, that's only going to benefit them. Another question or thing to just kind of think about, and of course we're not nutritionists, but how is the food nourishing the body or not? This could go under the pranamaya kosha also, but you might have people who are having issues with blood sugar or severe food allergies, or they come in and they, God love them, they only eat dark chocolate. That's their diet, and I'm not trying to make fun of anyone for eating habits. I'm just trying to use a real extreme, like I'm on the dark chocolate diet person, right? You might see things like that, and if it's just a noticing, does food seem to be taken in right and be nourishing the body, or is there something happening? And by the way, a lot of times this mental emotional stuff will really disrupt the way we're breaking down and intaking food. Yes, Ashley.
Could anxiety or unhealthy relationships with food affect this one, or would that more be within like, the mind?
They're all going to affect each other. So the question is, could unhealthy or anxious feelings around food affect this? And certainly there's kind of this thing that happens. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. Always send people to the correct health professional. We're just here to support them. But we do know this about stress hormones. So if a person is deeply stressed out and living in a constant stress response, they are soaking their cells in stress hormones. They are actually sending different neuropeptides into the cells to unlock different DNA. They will have a different genetic expression than they will when they are not soaking their cells in stress hormones. That's pretty big, right? Again, this is like karma, but we're not sitting back and going, well, dang it, just don't soak your cells in stress hormones, Amber. What are you doing? I like to use you because I'm kind of talking like in here, right?
My mom is small.
Uh-huh.
You can just see it by looking at her, so.
Oh, yeah.
very-
Well, and we all have those maybe lifetimes or days or moments where we are, right? And like I'll give you an example in my own life if that's or if you're all okay with that, but I really had a lot of anxiety when I was younger. I mean, and I didn't even recognize it. I grew up in a different time where it wasn't that people didn't talk about it like it's bad or shameful, but it just wasn't fully recognized for what it was. And it just was kind of like, well, this is just life is just a tense kind of situation, right? And I spent a summer in Peru and I got so this is just, I want to give you this example to show you how these different layers can work with each other. So I spent a summer in Peru and I got a, 3 days after being there, I got a parasite and all of the Westerners were getting it. Well, with me, so let me just set this up also. I was already soaked in stress hormones. It took me 4.5 days to get to Cusco, Peru, because of delays, you name it, everything happened. It was just way outside my comfort zone. I didn't speak any Spanish at the time. I went to learn Spanish and to work in an orphanage. It was just like, I wasn't feeling well. It just put me over the edge. And then all the stress made everything worse. So while other people were getting better and they're out having fun and doing things, what's happening to me? What do you think?
That is deeper.
Because of this mental, which by the way, then affects the energy body, even my breath patterns were probably horrible. It just spiraled. And it actually then, I have a gene for something called ankylosing spondylitis, which my mother and my grandmother had, and it unlocked that gene. So then I developed the symptoms of ankylosing spondylitis and had years where I couldn't eat certain foods and this and that. Well, so all of this to answer your question, and you see, I think this is a very, in a lot of ways, typical example of what we see with autoimmune stuff, which ankylosing is autoimmune, is then you can't eat certain things, but then you develop such fear around how am I going to feel tomorrow? What if I eat this? Oh my God, I don't have the right groceries in the house, that it becomes worse than if you just ate the damn thing. Not always. There are people who are very severe, and I don't mean to take from them, but there's kind of this tipping point where it's just like the anxiety around it is doing worse things to us than the allergic reaction, and it's also related to all of this stuff. So when we start to get into, this is why restorative yoga is so important, when we start to allow ourselves to get into deep states of rest, when we start to use Pratipakshapavana, things like this, and meditation and all of these things to get more control over the mind and the breath, it's going to show up physically too. I don't have any food allergies or things like insensitive or sensitivities. Insensitivity. Maybe I'm insensitive to food now, but I will tell you, as I got wrapped into that, it became worse and worse and worse, actually. Whereas at first the change in diet seemed to help, then the more I got kind of obsessed about it and fear around it, the worse than any little thing would be. Yeah.
I was diagnosed with celiac kind of like, they call it later in life, but I was literally 23.
Mhm.
They're like, it's later in life. I'm like, I'm 20. That's not later in life. That's the beginning part.
Yeah.
Put that on. But I stopped eating gluten and I felt so much better. And then all of a sudden, I had this huge like drop off where I started feeling like garbage again.
Mhm.
And I talked to my doctor and she's like, well, you may be cross-contaminating, you may be doing this, you may be doing that. And then I talked to my mom and she's like, have you ever considered that you are so obsessed? Like you've ticked the other way. You were so upset that everything you ate made you not feel good. And then you started feeling good. And now you're so anxious about making sure everything's clean, everything's gluten-free, everything's this, everything's that, that you have switched yourself to the opposite side of the extreme spectrum. And I was like,
Yeah. And it very well could be, because certainly when every time we eat or think about food or think about going to the grocery store, if we are spiraling into those stress hormones, it's only going to make our reaction to those foods more inflammatory, right? So it's not to say don't listen to that diagnosis and take care of it, but if we're not doing our meditation practices and all these other things to keep ourselves balanced, we can get into some real spinning out there. Yeah, Lacey.
Because in college, I was very stressed out.
Mhm.
That's like when my anxiety and stress really began. And suddenly, I was all of a sudden allergic to pineapple. Just out of the blue.
Mhm.
Nobody else in my family is allergic to it. Like, I ate it while growing up. Like, and my doctor was just like, well, you ate so much pineapple that your antibody died. Now it can't fight it anymore or whatever. It's so sad. I know. It was my favorite fruit. But and now I stress because pineapple is in things that you just wouldn't imagine, like teriyaki sauce or some salsas or barbecue sauces and stuff. And now I'm just enjoying that stuff. That's what I'm doing.
Well, thank you for sharing. And certainly I am not saying go eat these foods and throw yourself into anaphylactic shock or anything, right? But I am saying start to observe, start to zoom out and say, okay, this meal, I am safe. It doesn't mean don't take precautions, but then get relaxed and safe about it. Don't stay in that hypervigilant state. This is also a sign of how, honestly, how healthy the mental and prana bodies are, the manamaya and pranamaya koshas are, is how quickly can we respond and then recover. So you can ask a person that too. Like if you are getting in a stress state about pineapple and then not, because your body's like, okay, danger, alert, got to make sure I'm safe, but then you're not recovering quickly and you're staying up here, then of course it's just going to, we know there's a link between stress and inflammatory response, certainly. So yeah, you'll have to see what that's like. Yeah.
okay.
Well, let's talk about I'm sorry, I'm diverging, but this will support us all with this learning. When you are in fight or flight or freeze mode, right? That extreme extreme sympathetic response of like, I just saw a tiger. By the way, a pineapple's not a tiger, but it can feel like that to our brains. And it releases stress hormones. And what then happens to the immune function in the body? Because the body takes all of its prana, its available energy, right? And it says, deal with this immediately. Like, we don't have to worry about that flu bug you were exposed to right now. First, we got to live. And then if you recover quickly, then it's like, oh yeah, you were exposed to the flu bug. Let's do something about that. Or whatever all this other stuff is going on. It can deal with that stuff better. But if you're like, oh my gosh, the tiger, oh my gosh, the pineapple, and there's no recovery and you stay there, then that's also not brahmacharya. That is not a wise use of our prana, or a what's the word your Carrera uses, continent. You're not saying using our energy wisely means we don't have these energy leaks from worry. and stress and anxiety. We let it do what it needs to do for us to survive in the moment and to make wise and discerning choices. And then we have to get back to a more restful state. Otherwise, in that highly agitated state, the cells are literally being told, even stem cells can't go in and do the cool things stem cells do. They're being told like, no, you gotta do this so the tiger doesn't get you. Yeah. And this is why yoga can be so helpful for people who, especially these kind of weird, these weird symptoms that they never get a good diagnosis from a doctor, or they just can't seem to get help in a traditional way. I mean, real honestly, the key is just learning to change our internal state is what we're talking about here. Okay. Peg left us. So I'm just huge right now. I'm going to turn down my screen a little so I'm not so big and bright there. Okay. So that is Anamaya Kosha, as well as a little bit into these others, but we'll get into them. Will someone read the Pranamaya Kosha Taittiriya quote, please? It starts with inside.
Body. It fills the physical body and takes its shape. Those who treat this vital force as divine experience, excellent health and longevity, because this energy is the source of physical life.
Okay, and that's the Pranamaya Kosha. Funnily enough, is funnily a word?
Peg just sent a text.
I see Peg.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So.
Yeah, you disappeared on us, Peg. I don't know where you went. You've been gone for a while. We missed you. I cried a little. Okay, so Pranamaya Kosha. This is where, when we're talking chakras, when we're talking prana, when we're talking, tomorrow we'll talk about the prana vayu and the vayus, or not tomorrow, today, that's today. We have a break, so in my brain it's tomorrow. This all exists in the Pranamaya Kosha. This is kind of I mean, it's the life force. It's what animates the meat that you're in. Otherwise, it's just nothing. It's dead. I mean, it's dead. That's what happens when we die. It's also kind of the glue between the mind and the body, right? It's what sticks the mind stuff into the body. The mind stuff being all of the vasanas, all of these things that they, and some of those are probably more pranic, but so prana body, we know it's the energy sheath or vital energy or prana body. It gives us vitality. It gives us, I mean, life in a body is what it gives us. We can work with it through lots of things. Pranayama being the key one. An unsteady breath always indicates something going on deeper in the mind or pain in the body, right? The breath is a huge indicator. So it's important to gauge your own breathing throughout the day. If you are just doing little short breaths in your chest, then even if you don't think you are getting yourself stressed out, chances are your breath is telling you that's not the story, right? So we use pranayama. It's very important to learn to breathe properly. We use asana. I mean, asana can either take your energy down or lift it up, depending on what you need. More rigorous practice when you're tired will give you some energy. If you're kind of stressed and nervous, you might need a slower one, or that might stress you out too, just sitting in a pose in restorative yoga. Meditation. Meditation is a little more linked with the next one too, but it's certainly still our meditative practices. When we're focusing the mind, we are practicing a certain, again, amount of brahmacharya. Meditation allows us to control the mind better so that we're not expending energy on worry, anxiety, things like that, or lift it up when we're depressed more so. And that's all brahmacharya, which is all going to give us more prana for other things, right? One I wanted to add that's not on your list is bandhas. The bandhas.
Recording progress.
Hag, can you mute yourself, please? Something weird's happening here. Thanks. There's two of her. Hag, stop distracting me. I'm gonna have to like, most of the time students, I'm like, let me see you. And she's just like, like the camera's all over. There's two of them. Is it okay that I'm kidding you? Is that okay? All right. So signs of health or dis-ease, discomfort in this one, like it's just not functioning the way we want it to. What might they be?
Or like overreacting to things.
Could be. That also might be more in the next one. But again, where we draw the line, I would say this, the disproportionate reaction in the monomaya is going to lead to, it's going to show up here because the breath will become dysregulated, the energy will be not used properly in the most efficient way possible. Yeah, what else?
Like low energy or high energy, like if you're
Nervous energy, right? Like where you're just like too much or lethargic. Great. We want vitality is again what it gives us. So we know it's operating pretty well when you're still gonna have little dips during the day, of course. I mean, when you get hungry, when you there's natural rhythms. But that's another sign. Are the rhythms, are we in rhythm with the natural rhythms? What's our circadian rhythm like? Troubles, sleep patterns are a big one with this. And this is another one that gets really looped in on itself, right? Where you don't get enough sleep and then you're more likely to actually have fear and anxiety around sleep and then maybe do things that don't serve you to sleep and then not get enough. And you just get in this rut where you're so tired and all you need is sleep, but it's like the last thing on earth you can get, it seems like. Anyone ever been there? Yeah, I've been there too. Not anymore, thank goodness. I had 20 years of trouble with sleep, but now I'm a good sleeper and that's awesome. So I hope that for all of you, because it can be torment, truly. I get that. It's any of these, too, just like, yeah, just here's the thing you'll notice with clients. It's some people might never complain about being tired, and then you ask them how much caffeine they have in a day. Right. So remember, there's things that can mask what's happening with the prana body. Pranamaya kosha, right? There are things we can do that disguise the true situation. We talked about Rajas and Tamas on Friday night. And by the way, I never mean to imply you don't need to rest or like you're a horrible person if you sit down and watch a show at the end of the day. The question is, can you bring some sattva into that choice so that you say just one show, or I'm going to do this after I eat my dinner, not eat my dinner and not even taste it and watch TV. That's what I'm saying. Like, can we sattvacize our lifestyle a little more? Sorry, I went off and I forgot what I was saying. But just Rajas and Tamas, you'll see those here too. You're going to see how those show up a lot in these three. Biological functions and the things that the systems, nervous system I would put here too, for sure. Any of this sort of stuff, how we, maybe blood sugar goes here and not in physical. I don't know, but just these things, if they come up, put them in one of these two. All right, questions to assess health. And I want to give you a note. Before we even say what question should we assess, a mental question we're going to have is, how do they breathe? And I want you to just be, and you have to remind yourself to do this before or you'll forget. You have to just be like, okay, I'm gonna be aware of how they're breathing when we're talking. Is it a real like, or, you know, what's happening as they're talking with the breath? If you give them breath work, which you will, you always want to watch them do it because so many people don't know really how to breathe. So we usually have to teach that. I'll remind you of that next month. So we're going to ask, well, what do you think are some questions we might ask?
Are you sleeping?
How are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Right. What else?
You smoke cigarettes or smoke anything?
You could. Yeah. It's good to, I mean, it's just good to know this stuff so we know what we're really dealing with. And by the way, none of it, we're not going to judge any of it, certainly, right? But we are going to be like, okay, that could have, that certainly can have an impact. What else? Yeah, Peg.
I mean, what if you ask them about, like, what are their concerns? What are their goals for themselves? What do they want to talk about?
Oh, certainly. I'm talking about this in particular, though. That's on the intake form.
Okay,
yeah.
but in particular to this,
That's
what
sure.
are-
Yeah. You could do that. You could say, what are your goals as far as, and you're not going to be like, as far as your pranamaya kosha, what are your goals? Unless they're a yoga nerd and they want to learn these kind of things, in which case then they'll have even more interest in buy-in. Most people don't and get overwhelmed if you throw stuff at like that at them. But like, what is your energy like and what would you like it to be like? How many cups of coffee a day are you drinking and how many do you think you'd like to drink instead? That sort of thing. What else?
Asking them if they suffer from anxiety and depression fall under this one, if that's something that they're like clinically diagnosed with.
For my brain, I put it under the next one. But remember, anything that's showing up in the pranamaya, probably like what we're trying to get to is where's its deepest source.
Yes, these.
Yeah. So it will show up here and it's also going to show up in the physical body, but likely this is the where we're going to focus
Okay.
a little more.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Something you said too about sleep schedule. We wanted to look at schedules, routines, daily habits. These are things that over time either contribute to or take away from our vitality. Do you agree? Yeah, I mean, we know. You know, if you have a week where you're just doing all the things you know don't contribute to your vitality, you feel different. Yeah.
Okay, to ask here, do you find yourself short of breath a lot?
You could ask that, sure. Yeah. Or do you find yourself short of breath? Are you able to take a nice deep breath and then have them do it? And I promise you, not everyone, because some people have been doing yoga and things, right? But and I think there's more awareness around breath in general now, but a lot of people will go, and it's all this anxiety, chest breathing, lifting the shoulders to the ear is their deep breath. So then you're like, okay, we're gonna get into the belly. We're gonna get into the ribs a little because chest only breathing is there's purposes for it. There's a lot of good, it can be used really well, but when it's the only place we're breathing and when it's done with an intensity and a force or really short and quick, it's just, we're in that fight or flight kind of feeling. Yeah, so again, self-care stuff, and by that, I just mean how are they just caring for themselves? And again, we're never going to be like, okay, you're not taking very good care of yourself, are you? Because that's not what we're here for. We're just here to be like, okay. And by the way, really, we're here to most of the time, they will tell us what needs to change. They know. Do you know what you need to change in your own life? By and large, I can tell you exactly. And then there's usually like the thing where we're like, if I just kind of need I needed to say it out loud and be honest with myself about it and now have some accountability and give me some tools to support me with this is what a lot of this comes down to. Mhm.
So if somebody has a career
Mhm.
that is physical, my son was a professional soccer player.
Okay,
Heavy, physical, perpetual, diet, mental, the whole thing,
Mhm.
could never sleep.
sure. All that
So-
competition, so
Yeah,
Rajasic.
Somebody comes in and they say, I'm a, I'm a trainer or this, or I'm a pro, or whatever, and I just can't like find good sleep. This is something that you would, so I don't know.
We'll talk about that next month.
Oh,
That's what we're gonna get into more next month, yeah. So we will talk about, and that's one of the ones, if you have someone with insomnia, we'll go through, we're going to filter all of this through a system that I use that you're able to take all this and put it together and filter through some questions and kind of this grid so that whether someone is experiencing symptoms of insomnia or symptoms of depression or anxiety, any of these things, we can offer them some stuff to help. But also, I think you might be asking, like, are we working here for them?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We,
Okay, so that
we,
would be-
well, we're gonna work on all of them for them. And it can depend. Maybe, I don't think this is the case with your son. I'm guessing from what you told me. But if he's not sleeping because his knee hurts too bad from soccer, that's different. We're going to address that differently than someone who's not sleeping because they can't stop planning tomorrow because they have so much to do. Right? Or that sort of thing is different. That's a different kind of thing. Or because they're just constantly revved up and in fight or flight, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we will, when we get into that, we'll find ways to kind of be like, okay, where do we want to focus for this person? Yeah. Yeah, and I just put a note here, watch for a false positive from caffeine for their health, energy, overall health, vitality, energy, well-being. Watch for that. Yeah.
I might be jumping the gun here again for the next one.
That's okay.
But would like self-image, like, would that be something if you're like, how are you like really hard on yourself? Are you?
I think that's more the next one.
Okay.
It's where that'll be. So yeah, that will definitely, that's where we're getting into how the mind talks to itself and what we identify with, right? All right, anything else on pranamaya kosha? Yes, Ari.
Yeah, just like the whole kosher, so I just wanna get this right, looking at this, so. The body is the farthest thing away from our pure. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but technically it's throughout everything.
It's
This is
throughout
just a model to help us understand, but energetically, it is the most, okay, so your Prakriti map, right?
Yeah,
If we have Purusha up here, as we get more densified in Prakriti, the one that is the most obscured from pure consciousness is the body.
Okay.
Then the energy body is next. The mind is a little more subtle. And then we get into the next two
okay.
from there. Yeah. Good question. Thank you. So like the Russian stacking doll idea is kind of literal, but also kind of, it is like how far away it is, but it's also, but this is still kind of powering and available to everything. All right. Monomaya kosha. This is, oh, will someone read that one, please? Within, whatever that is, within the vital force.
Within the vital force is yet another body, this one made of thought energy. It fills the two denser bodies and has the same shape. Those who understand and control the mental body are no longer afflicted by fear.
Thank you. And that's Monomaya. So, I mean, it's basically telling us the big problem with this one is what? What's the last word? Yeah, which is a lot of what, I mean, honestly, has anyone ever read the book, Love is Letting Go of Fear? Oh my gosh, you should read this book. It's short, it's quick, there's cartoon drawings in it. But I mean, really, there is kind of this idea that you're either in a state of like love and wholeness and whatever all these things are, or it's a fear state, right? And fear can then come out as anger, fear can come out as sloth, like I can't do anything because life's too scary. We all have these moments, right? But when we're dealing with Manomaya Kosha, that is the biggie that we're dealing with. It is the mind sheath. You know, as yoga students, mind means more than just brain, right? It's our thoughts, it's our feelings, it's our memories, it's personality, it's all of these things. It's yums and yucks, all of this stuff. It is the mental emotional body. The mind, its job is to give us clarity so that when we get it clear, so also imagine these literally each as a sheet. So if I have like a light bulb and that's consciousness, and I put a scarf over it, be careful that it's an LED one so it doesn't catch on fire. But I put a thin scarf over it. Well, one scarf, quite a bit of light's still going to get through. Each one I put over it, less light is going to get through. Now, of course, the color and the texture of the scarves matter also, right? So this scarf, really, we want to get it as calm, as clear as possible, because when that happens, that light can just come through and it will instantly start to affect pranamaya and then the physical body. So this is really our bridge right here. This one's huge. It is the bridge between these the others, which can still, of course, have issues with them, but they tend to, when we're able to access these more, if this one's dark and cloudy, we're not accessing these more helpful koshas either. So it gives us clarity when it is functioning well. One of the ways we can impact it, and I have lots of others to add. I don't know who I was or what I was doing when I wrote this because there's so many for this one. I don't know why I just put chanting, but chanting is one. Mantra, either chanting or japa mantra, you know, where you're just basically mumbling and Om Gam Shri Mahalakshmi, Om Gam Shri, like this sort of thing. Another one, Manomaya. We talked about this a bit Friday night. Which direction does the mind want to go? Yeah, outward through the what? Yeah, oh my gosh. Great job. Through the senses. The mind is like, ooh, this looks fun over here. Oh, that seems so boring. I don't want to do that. I want to do this instead. So the mind is always want to go out. We are trying to bring it in through yoga to get that clarity. So one of the things that can support it is pratyahara. Tell me why. Yes.
Bringing in the senses kind of helps to. It calms everything because instead of reaching for, what was that sound? What was this sound? What's that over there? What is that person doing? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It kind of is like.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a lifestyle thing too. So think about people who are walking their dogs and looking at their phone and have their earbuds in and I'm not judging you if you do this, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, we're not even sensing the things we're sensing hardly because we're just bombarding ourselves. Think about, I did this last summer. I did a digital detox thing here. And the first thing I did, I picked a random post on my YouTube channel that came up. And it was a guy showing like, the 3 things you're doing wrong when you do squats or something like that. You know, how it's always like, you're squatting wrong, you jerk, or whatever the thing is. And I just printed that out and I was like, write every thought that comes to your head just looking at this. And they had like 3 minutes, not even a full 5, and they filled a couple of pages. And it was everything from, wow, I suck at squats and I'm weak, to, oh, that guy's cute, to, you know, I mean, they shared them and it was just like everywhere. Or I'm never going to be as strong as that guy, or this or that, all of this stuff. So think about what you're doing to your mind with social media alone. So pratyahara is a practice, not just, so we sit down, we close our eyes. You can even use an eye mask. I love eye masks for meditating, by the way. I also like to put in something in my ear. I have noise canceling earbuds. Why not? I'm going to use what I can to help. But also then that is only going to help so much if I'm not being more aware of it in my life and what I'm allowing in through the senses. So this is something too. If a person is really struggling, how much time are they spending on social media or just watching television? Do they ever just, this is a concept too. It's a great book, Digital Minimalism, and Cal Newport wrote it. And he talks about this idea. I can't remember, he uses a good term for it, but it's basically like just letting your mind be with itself, letting you be with yourself without the influence of any other mind. So can you drive in your car, or do you have to listen to music, which is the influence of another mind because it's created it? Do you have to listen to a podcast? Do you have to listen to a book at all times? Can you ever just do the thing you're doing and let it be quiet? That's going to be more sattvic, right? Than trying to do all this multitasking, which is the opposite of being one-pointed. So pratyahara is a huge one for this. Sankalpa. People love Sankalpa work with your private clients, by the way. They love it. You don't have to call it that. You can call it like an intention or a personal mission statement if they are more of a mission-minded person or whatever. But Sankalpa can be really powerful. Pratipaksha Bhavana, saying, doing the opposite, feeling the opposite. So working with all of these things. And again, meditation. Pranayama helps this layer because where the breath goes, the mind goes. So if we really can't get control of the mind, we can work on the breath, and sometimes then that'll settle the mind. Yeah? Anything you want to add or that you're wondering about?
Asana, the grand scheme, isn't super important because it's only really active like the outer. Or would you say that it's so?
I think it still impacts the mind, and it'll get us ready to have an even deeper impact on the mind. Yeah. Asana, that's why we do them all. Yeah. But, also as you become more sattvic, the less you and able to sit for longer, the less you need the asana. But you still probably need asana just to kind of get your body and your mind a little, get some of that energy reworked and refocused. And that's why we would still give these people who are saying they're experiencing, I mean, think about this too, Ari. If I am feeling depressed, what do I want to do with my body? Yeah. And that's not wrong. I'm not saying this is wrong. But what I am saying is, can we add a little activity and see if it lifts us a bit? Can we lift it just a notch? And sometimes just a few poses will do that. So there is certainly an effect. These three, again, it's hard to unwind them. They're very, they affect each other greatly. All right. What are some signs of this one being in good shape versus maybe not so great shape? Who said big emotional reactions? Ashlyn? Yeah, I have that here. Balanced ones versus either suppression or explosion kind of stuff. What else?
I put centered or grounded
Yeah, there's
within
a,
their self.
yeah, amen. And I think one that is around that and has to do with it is clear thinking. It's hard to think clearly when we don't have that kind of centeredness. Alexis.
Similar to Ashland's, but emotional regulation, so how quickly you can come back from the big emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, which again, that's part of what we were just talking about too, right? Like if we get angry and we still have that like adrenaline or whatever is released during it, might be cortisol just pumping through our veins, like, but then we keep feeding it. and ruminating on it and be like, yeah, that person was messed up, then it's just like, that's a problem. I'm not saying it's wrong to get angry, but we only hurt ourselves when we ruminate on it and won't let it go. And won't transmute it into literally a higher vibration emotion. What else?
Like then if, like, a healthy attachment aversion versus like extreme or, what did I write down? Attachment or aversion to an unhealthy degree, like we
Sure.
were talking about with like partying, like I love going out and partying because it makes me feel so good. And you're like, I don't know, sorry, my brain is
No.
moving too fast. I'm gonna take a.
You explained it really well. I think we're all with you. Yeah. That was great. Yeah, it is. It's again, it's that more sattvic desires and aversions versus rajasic, tamasic kind of stuff. Oh, okay, Reba and then Lexi.
See, like, habits, are you leaning into social media a lot, or are you able to let those things go, kind of thing?
Yeah, habits and that's a big one that, yeah, we'll talk more about that next month, but certainly patterns, addiction might be here. If you've ever been addicted to anything, you know that, you know the feeling of, there's just something else literally driving you to go do these things, even though your mind is, you think you're thinking, your very surface mind is like, but don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't grab the thing and do the thing. It's hard to be human, isn't it? I know. What else? Okay, please.
Think maybe like how often can you finish multitasking and focus on one thing at a time?
Yes. How often have you even thought about, I mean, a lot of us are proud multitaskers, right? You will have clients who are just like, no, I have to do 37 things at a time or it won't get all done. And actually the brain can't multitask. You know this, right? Like it just can shift really quickly between things, but you're never giving the one thing full attention. And so we tend to actually get things done better when we can slow down, calmly do one thing at a time. Yeah. So in fact, that would be a tool or a thing to ask about also, I think, under this questions to assess is I put that under your tool, ekagrata, one-pointed focus up there. What else? I mean, this one we could go on and on, right? What else?
I don't know if it's here, it's a little more like very subtle observational things, but body language as far as like, are they withdrawn, are they open, are you making eye contact? The eye contact thing I think is like a little bit more obscure for the body language.
It can be. I would say this, you can put it here, body language, or you could say, like, if I have someone who is coming to me with anxiety, when I'm looking at the physical, I'm going to say, how does this show up? And that's for me where I'm probably going to put body language, but it's not incorrect to put it here either. Yeah. I mean, you get this, right? It's just, it's huge. It's kind of everything. Questions to assess. We want to look for, is there a certain level of discernment in how they're thinking through their life? So if they are coming in and telling you about all their problems, and that's why they're with you, so that's okay. We're inviting them to be like, hey, what's going on here? But is there a level of an ability to be discerning and to be like, have that clarity of like, well, when I do this, this happens? Or is it all very blamey and that sort of thing, or not seeing one's own part in how their mind and their choices might be impacting things? And of course, again, we don't want to be like, well, you have stomach ulcers because you worry too much and you need to just stop that. That's not what this is, you know that, but it is like just a thing for us to be like, okay, maybe we need to work here a bit because they aren't really having, there's not a lot of clarity and their choices are really wild and not rational. They're not even making rational choices. They're just kind of swinging all over the place. That sort of stuff. Like, what is their decision making like? Do you see presence of fear or not? And it's a human you'll be working with, so you will see fear because we're human. But well, how do they regulate that? How much is it impacting them? How much is it appropriate? Is it fear that is like, oh yeah, you know, my husband just got a cancer diagnosis, and that's a scary thing, certainly. But then does it turn into, and now they're terrified of their own kids getting it and themselves getting it, and then it becomes fear of food and fear of and you know, just this I have to control things sort of thing. Another question you can ask is, what do you think will happen if or because of? So a lot of times they come in and talk to you about their lives or situations. And a lot of times there's fear. Well, I'm worried about the situation at work. And just in their answer, it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, but do you see clarity? We want to see a clarity of thought. And of course, just general mental, emotional well-being. How is it? How much stress do you experience is a good question for them, because again, some people don't think to them stress is just part of life and it's not anxiety. Overwhelm is part of life and it's not anxiety. So we also want to kind of offer up different languaging if we're noticing things. Yeah.
Would it be helpful or okay if we were like, if we told clients, like, forget the number scale, like, not on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you feeling? Because not to be like I was diagnosed, but like I was diagnosed with anxiety at 7, so my anxiety scale is far different than my sister's
Sure.
who is neurotypical. But like being like, how much stress are you experiencing on a scale, like not even on a scale, but like, are you able to function throughout the day regularly? Do you find yourself?
Yeah, you can do that. Or if you use a scale, just let them decide what it means. I mean, and just be like, and what does that mean to you? What does the thing is, all we need to know is how much discomfort do you experience because of stress? That's, and then we even let go of the word stress and we go, okay, disturbance, there's a disturbance in the force. And we're gonna do some yoga for it. What else, Maria?
I'll usually scale stress like this: 0 is no stress and 10 is a panic attack. So from 0 to 10, where are you at currently?
Yeah. Yeah, and you are welcome to use that, but again, it's if they aren't having a panic attack, but it disrupts their life, if the chronic stress is disruptive in their life and health, it might still be a 10 to them in how it affects them and impacts them too. So we might just, I think, just get a little deeper and make sure we're understanding how much is this impacting you and your world. Yeah.
Would it be important for us to know if they are taking some sort of medication to manage things of this nature or not necessarily?
I don't mess with it because then I indicate to them, here's the thing. I don't ever want to indicate, I don't ever want to get in the way of how they're using Western medicine to support themselves. So I don't get into that because also it just is what it, to a degree, it is what it is. And so if they're on it, this is how it's presenting and this is what I'm going to deal with. Yeah. Good, really good question. Although I do ask about caffeine and that's a drug. And there are other,
Yeah.
you know, things like that I might ask about, lifestyle things. But no, if they want to offer it up, because sometimes people do, they're like, I've been on huge doses of Xanax, say, and I'm never going to be like, well, I'm going to get you off of it because that could get me in a ton of trouble. But it might be for them interesting to note how their yoga practices impact their need for at their dosage levels. That for them, you can give as a, notice this and see, and then talk to your healthcare practitioner. Yeah.
Would self-image go under this?
Yes, there we go. Yes, this is where I would put that. Because these are thoughts and feelings. So how do you feel about yourself? And so that's a thing you can ask about, and you can also just ascertain kind of through some of the other stuff too. It usually just comes in. What else?
What if you're working with somebody who has a yoga practice, but they have made
Well, let me address that as a former smoker. They already know that it's hurting them, and they're just doing the best they can, and that might just be a justification to make it okay. But if they keep doing the practices, eventually they're going to get to a place where this next one here will start to shine through. This next one we're going to talk about will start to shine through, and they're just going to have to get honest with themselves. Yeah.
they want to be on. They want to take it out of their practice.
Oh, they do. Oh, then you can work with them on that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't completely understand. If they want to take it out of their practice, that's certainly something you can. It might be like, how are they using it in their practice? Do they have like a home practice and a cigarette lit next to them, and they're like, inhale? Oh, you mean marijuana? Sorry, I'm old school, so smoke to me means cigarettes. Okay, then we have a whole, not really a whole other thing. It's very similar, actually. Any addiction that we're using in tandem with our yoga practice is unfortunately having an adverse effect on the potential impact of the yoga practice. However, if that's what we have to do to get ourselves to do yoga, I'm still like, well, at least you're doing some yoga. So what we'll work on, we'll talk about addiction and stuff next time, but will you bring this up again next month? Because I think there's certain things we can do to just start to bring it down for them. And yeah, always, you gotta, people from my generation, you gotta talk to us differently. But it's the same idea. It would be the same idea either way. Ex-pot smoker too, but never in a big way, so made me too paranoid. All right. I think we're good on, we get the basics of this one, yeah? Okay, so how are we on time? We're doing great. The next one is so much fun to say, but first I'll ask someone to read the quote, which I keep looking at this one. It's not in this one. Will someone read the Taittiriya? I won't make you say.
Those who establish their awareness here free themselves from unhealthy thought and develop the self-control necessary to achieve their goals.
Thank you. Now say that word. Good try. Thank you for being a sport, Reba. So here's our word, Guyana, right? But it's very hard not to throw the N in there, with the VI in front of it. So it's Vignana. Vignana. Please.
While we're in pronunciating things, in Taittiriya, is the middle I silent, Taittiriya or Taittiriya? Does it kind of blend in?
Yeah.
Taittiriya.
And you would say it, I'm kind of saying it how my teachers say it, which is kind of like I was saying with Bhagavad Gita instead of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.
Blended together.
Okay. So Vijnana Maya Kosha is, when we get into this one and the next one, Ananda Maya Kosha, the practices we're bringing in more here are going to be our, Bhakti and Jnana yoga, knowledge of the self and knowledge or like, I don't want to say God because this is available to anyone, whether or not they believe in God. But it is well, we'll get into it with the next one a little more. Pardon me, Vijnana Maya Kosha is, it gives us an understanding of divine law, sacred knowledge, how the divine creatively expresses itself in the world. And this is where this one actually coordinates our, oh, sorry, this one here, my chart's a mess. This one coordinates our relationship and understanding of the Saguna God, that immanent God, that God that has traits. So if you are a Krishna follower, it'd be Krishna, right? It's an image or an idea of God that's just not the transcendent, right? Is what all is happening here. So we also experience a certain amount of Shraddha, faith. Faith, by the way, is different in yoga than faith we often think of. Faith is not blind faith. It is a real change of the mental processes in a way that it becomes a part of the understanding of how things work, becomes a part of our own mind stuff, really. There's a shift that happens. And I'm sorry for the aside. Okay, so this is the wisdom sheath. It's sometimes called the intellectual body. And I just put that in here because you'll see it. But remember, it's intellect in yoga is never like, oh, that person's good at math. That would be monomaya. Yeah, thank God. Intellect is always, again, about that jnana yoga, that ability to know the real from the unreal, the capital S self from the small s self. This is temporary. I'm having this experience of emotions. I'm not actually angry. I am not angry. I'm experiencing anger. That kind of, there's discernment here, viveka. There's just a connection to higher truths, to dharma, all of this stuff here. Yes.
Would this be one that like intuition's a big thing? Like trusting intuition?
You had to ask about intuition.
But faith and
Yeah.
it's kind of
Let me talk about intuition quickly. Intuition. Oh, I used to have a good way to. Okay, so prajna is kind of is an almost an idea we could call it intuition in yoga, where just the light of truth kind of shines through, and we get these glimpses of it. And it can help us in life. It can kind of give us intuitions about things. We don't, and this would be more happening in these chakras up here, in these energy centers. Sometimes people use intuition to talk about what's happening with the gut. The gut can be right and the gut can be very wrong, because the gut is, it's more of an animal instinct thing. It's more of a, when someone just says this just feels right, and they're using that as intuition, a lot of times it's actually just, no, it makes me feel safe and I want to believe it's right, but it's actually just feels safe because it's an old pattern I'm about to hop back into. So again, we see it a lot with relationships. It just feels right with her. It just feels right with him. And as the friend, you're looking from the outside going, it's just like it was last time. So there is a difference in how, it depends how we're using that word intuition too. Sure. But yes, I would say that more, well, there'd be discernment between whether it's intuition or whether it's an animal, and some intuition is instinct too. It's that animal instinct to survive, and that, ooh, that's trouble. Don't go there. So it doesn't mean don't listen to it, but we can kind of discern where it's coming from. This is the wisdom. It gives us wisdom and discernment. So this, when we are back in, this is really an experience of that buddhi or mahat sattvic mind state, right? and meditation. I would also put a study of texts, self-contemplation, journaling, all of these things, as long as we don't get too caught up in the person. Sometimes our journaling just leads us down a path of getting really fascinated with our own weird ways of our own minds and really even more attached to like things, you know? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh my, no. You rip it out, throw it away.
Burn it. No. But it can be useful when used correctly. Just as long as it's like therapy, really, you know, therapy can be great for people, but there are then modalities of therapy where we're just ruminating. So are we using our journaling to ruminate, or are we using it to really gain clarity and wisdom? All right, signs of this one being healthy or not healthy. I'm just gonna throw some at you and then add some if you think of more. Healthy choices versus poor choices. Helpful versus unhelpful choices. And even an ability to know the difference, right? So sometimes this one needs this, we need to do some work on this one because the person, there's a lot of, this one again blends a lot into monomaya because it's like if there's a lot of confusion, a lot of cloudiness, a lot of murkiness, a lot of justification of actions, we're always going to focus on all of them, and part of why we will with that is because we want them to get in touch with integrity and truth. How much do they act with integrity? That's a big one. Are they like the friend who always shows up 20 minutes late? And I recognize there are people who struggle with time more than others, but the one who just has no care about it, you know, there's not even a things like that. No accountability. Yeah, I mean, this is where we get into that sense of personal responsibility in yoga. It says a person at the Taittiriya says a person with healthy intellectual body will be free of unhealthy thoughts and actions and will be able to achieve their goals. So when this person says they're going to do something, do they get it? Do they do it? Or is it just, I have a friend and, oh, God love him, but just starts things and quits things and stuff. And I have that in me too. I think we all do, but it is like a thing where it's just like, oh, please finish the thing this time. Integrity, commitment. I do have on here, no trust in self, like no deep trust in one's sense of, you know, when like they don't feel like they can say, no, that's not right. You don't get to treat me that way, or that sort of thing. And I don't just mean boundaries, but I mean just this like, there's no trust to self. That like I have a friend who literally been in a 20-year relationship where it's like he really believes that he's unworthy of anything else too, right? And can't even see his own, that he could say something. There's not even that ability to see that.
With like slight deprecation.
Yeah, it could go here or again. Yeah. So just those are things you're noticing. What else do you want to add or ask about on? Oh, here's a sign of it being pretty healthy or they're in touch with it is they tend to have deep insights into themselves and the world around them.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the nature of maybe just their casual conversation, so the idea of talking about people or events or ideas.
Yeah.
Just talk about other social media.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Quality thought.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come to somebody with, hey, I have this philosophical thing in my head, let's toss it back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think even just like by virtue of the fact that you're here, says that you all are, you may not feel this way all the time, and certainly it comes and goes, but you are in tune with this. You're asking the big questions, right? Okay. So questions again to ask, look at that conversation, look at what are they fixated? What is the quality of their thoughts? Are they thinking about, are they gossiping? Are they this stuff? Ask them, why'd you make that choice? Again, unhealthy actions, patterns, and habits. It's not going to be dissimilar from the last one. Lack of self-control, personal responsibility, or discernment. Is there a breach of integrity? A lot of use of justification. Like, well, I did this, but it was because I did this horrible thing, but I had to because. And we all know this because we've all done this. We good on Vijnana Maya Kosha? Thanks.
Would this be a place to ask them, like, so what are your goals, just in general? Do
Sure.
you want to say that?
Yeah, I think you could certainly talk
And
to
if they're
them.
like, I don't have a single one. And you're like, okay. we're-
Yeah, and that actually is an interesting thing because yes, they may not. I don't care about goals so much because
Yeah.
that can be such a
Yeah, it's a weird.
goals can be icky too. Right? The quality of their goals
Right.
will matter too. If it's just like, well, I'm gonna have the best ass in the gym,
Yeah.
then I still don't think it reveals much about this. But if they're searching for them and they have a self-awareness, that might be someone who actually is more in tune with this than someone who is, they're like, but what's my soul's purpose? What am I here to do? And my goal versus I want a great ass in the gym.
Right. Maybe there's a better way to phrase that. I'll look at it.
Well, no, but I think you can ask them. I think you can ask it and just from their response kind of
Yeah.
get that. Yeah, just don't shuffle it immediately on, yes, they have goals into one category or the other. Anything else? Okay, let's finish it up with Anandamaya Kosha. Will someone read the last little bit, please?
Subtler body, composed of pure joy. It pervades the other bodies and shares the same shape. It is experienced as happiness, delight, and bliss.
Nice. So this is Anandamaya Kosha. It's still experienced as happiness, delight, and bliss. So it's still an experience rather than the beingness of such. Yeah. But we get that it's so close to that beingness that we get that joy there. This is the bliss sheath, sometimes called the soul body. It is the gift of bliss, of joy, of big love. We get to it through devotional practices. By the way, any of these two meditation, I just say, let's just put meditation in any of these, except maybe the body. It's hard to, it'll affect it, but it wouldn't be what we give for it. Now, if a person doesn't have devotional practices, that's fine. We're still going to figure stuff out for them. So let me just assure you of that right now. Signs of health or disconnection. And I just put here disconnection because this really is more of a, it just feels more like there's a disconnection from the true and highest self on certain levels. So do they have a sense of spirituality? And if they don't like that word, meaning to life? A sense of, even if they don't know their purpose, but I feel like I have one. I feel like this happened. Like, I feel like we're here to contribute. They have a feeling that there's a higher good. Is it something that, do they have things that bring them great joy in life? Questions to ask. And if they don't, then, if a lot of times depression will really go all the way back to this one because there's such a disconnect from any sense of the true nature, right? And so it's just disconnected. There's not energy getting up to the seventh, not there's always energy in the seventh chakra, but it's not functioning as well as it could. So we might just see someone with just no sense of joy, no sense of purpose, no sense of meaning, all of this stuff that again will show up in the others as well. And I think there's a lot of adults like this. You say, when's the last time you felt joy? And a lot of us are going to be like, oh, let me think about that. Right? So questions to assess health, just asking yourself, is there any bliss or happiness or joy in this person's life? And if you can't find it by hearing them talk about their lives, then ask. It's going to be important to understand what we're going to give them for this one by asking them, when you do experience joy, what are you doing? What brings you joy? And also, we do need to get a little bit into their beliefs because that will contribute to what we give them for this one, for their little mini, we're giving them little mini sadhanas, and it will have a component that will help this one shine through more. So we need to know, is this going to be someone who needs to go get out in nature to experience it? Or is this someone who needs to commit to saying their rosary every night? And we don't really know that if we don't ask. So that will come up. And you all are such lovely people. No one will have any problem sharing that with you, I'm sure, or feeling judged by it.
What's the best way to stop being like, are you spiritual? Would that be
Just-
okay?
I just say, do you hold any spiritual or religious beliefs? Because that'll help me know how to guide this. Yeah. Because I'm going to judge you. No, but if you do give a little, because it doesn't have to be a deep one, but just this will guide me with some of our activities.
The first they can say is no.
Yeah. Which that alone will tell you. Then you get to, well, okay, what gives you joy? Because then you have nothing to work with except, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Maybe this is getting a little convoluted for me because I am a therapist, and so I'm a little bit concerned about like, in the therapy setting, it's a very distinct, this is therapy, and if I'm bringing yoga into it, this is that. And I'm a little like nervous about working deeper with clients in the yoga world, that I'm gonna like tiptoe into some therapy territory. What I'm getting at, my question is, have you had people that you've worked with one-on-one that have expressed suicidality? And as a yoga instructor, do we have a responsibility to do something with that in the moment when we're bringing up these big topics and thinking about depression? I'm just wondering, does that come up? What is our responsibility?
I have done a lot and I've never had it come up.
Okay.
But with anything, first off, we are not trained to. That is where we want to refer them to. It'd just be like if someone came in with a broken arm and not a cast on it, we want to refer them out to someone who can be helpful. So, and of course, like have things on like the National Suicide Hotline number, things like that. I think we just have a responsibility as humans. I'm not even going to get into the profession. If someone's coming to me with suicidal ideation, I'm going to do my best to get them into a place, not mentally. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to do that with them, but I'm going to get them into the right hands. Resources, but making sure they do those resources and don't just say, okay, thanks, and go home. And then what? Like, but just, okay, that's me. You are going to have to draw your own boundaries. It's, I'd be like, what's your plan when you get home? How soon are you going to text me? Like, and it just depends how much you want to get into that with people or not. Some people, that would be a boundary for them that they don't want to cross of text me when you get home. And then it becomes a thing where, oh, are they going to text me every time? That sort of stuff. So that'll be something that honestly, I've never had come up. I think, I've had it come up as a past. Certainly. I think many people have experienced suicidal ideation, and it whether they tell you or not, they a lot of times have, it might come up as a past thing. I've never had someone be like right now. Yeah. Great question. What else? Okay. Should we go to lunch? All right, it's 12:32. Come back at 1:33. I'll give you an extra minute. We will do, when you come back in, just be ready to go. I will have your pages up on the board. They might be wrong, but I'll have them up.
Sorry, Jacob, my stuff is all in the way today. So, do I lose it? You know? No, I'm having to. Okay, burrito.
Oh, I mean, not immediately, but like it does not easily.
My gluteus maximus falls asleep. Oh dear, that's not a comfortable feeling. No, it's very weird.
Have you ever had half your butt fall asleep?
Yep. I'm sitting in that awkward like side stance. Yeah.
I attended.
Did I? Oh.
Things. So early outlet. It takes so long.
A little bit of
Honestly, not right there, so everybody else is
looking
up
at it,
right
it's
and I'm like,
big burrito. It's big.
and I
Chowed down for breakfast and then I showered. I think it's gonna take me through the day.
I got shot because we need them.
It's good, now really considering you had a big thorough.
Well, I had it after.
Oh.
Yeah, once the sauna left out, then I let out, then I ate it.
Okay.
I'm the type of person, but I absolutely need calories to think, like I don't do well fasting. But I need that constant. As soon as I get calories, I'm like. But like fasting, I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's go. That's interesting. Yeah, like when I get up at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's it. I don't eat. I just have a cup of coffee and I'm like, all right, I'm good. So I'm gonna teach my class at 7:30 and then I go to school and then I eat lunch. But I've gotten better. Starting to study our Vedic principles about actually eating something for like that and kind of raising that up. And then like small snacks is better than like. I'm still having a preference for like long fasting. Yeah. I work out really heavy, so my body lets me know. Oh my god, you need the food, you need the calories. I'll go get a burrito. You guys can get some.
yeah, it's good.
And you sit around and you eat with your friends and you chat.
He texted me like 45 minutes later and said, we left. Oh, I think like, no, it just smells like the flavor for the person. What do you think that somebody?
I've never done an eating during.
I use a paper towel that was
Is it
already
like-
pulled off, but then.
Are they
back? And I'm wondering if like takes. And if I see those.
It'd rather be something like.
Yeah, I
Some
semi-church related. When my mom. I usually go to, fill them up with candy, like fill them, I'm
Yeah.
not buying like 3 jelly beans.
It's just
It was like, yeah, it's
It was like a jelly bean.
But I also, grandma used to go about money.
I'm an adult, I'm sorry, can't afford that, son.
Okay.
Well, sorry, getting jelly beans. I'll pick that for you.
Yeah, I put one jelly bean and one like M&M
Anybody in your house?
and one egg.
I know.
Okay,
get them all at once.
You're gonna stop, you know.
That's the actually like the jelly beans and those are the best. I should have just bought a single. Single bag.
I was gonna say,
Or advertised ones. Yeah, all I needed was like 15 single pieces.
Not when I should.
No. I should stand up. So yesterday when we were doing handstands and I was going through like my OG Instagram, I found my post from when I was like learning how to ride on half pipe and I was doing a handstand up on that.
Oh, that's
fun.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
oh,
such an epic move.
little
It's like my
me.
favorite.
Was that when you were in your 200 hour? Before.
You look so pretty, Anna.
Oh,
Beautiful
wow.
color on your
I love that
So
color.
Are you leaving?
I know.
Gonna
We're
be going to Taster festivities.
We're staying in, human clothes. Yeah.
What do you
Do you want my real answer? Do you
All
want-
right. I'm scratching the egg, never mind. So sweet. I'd tell my son to eat it, but I guess I'm not going to.
I wouldn't judge you if you did.
I mean, like, I ate the cake pop
Be
off the
honest.
ground, but then I was like, wait, people like sweat
In here.
in here. That's actually kind of gross.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm a little bit gross, but I eat stuff off the floor. I eat.
Comes off the floor.
I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't eat, like, if I was at the mall and I dropped something on the floor, I probably wouldn't eat it there, but like, I frequently eat things off the floor. I just tell myself I ate literal dirt and bugs as a child, I'm probably fine.
Easter dinner.
Sorry, what?
You're going to Easter dinner? Yeah. I was not a young child, I was like 20 or
Oh, wow.
I was just like being stupid.
You're like,
For
oh,
the
yeah.
vine.
I'll eat anything.
For the vine, oh.
For the-
It was on vine. Vine, oh my god. And she said she ate bugs and I'm like, I ate a caterpillar. And it actually turned out to be poisonous and like the spikes went into my mouth and into my tongue. Like grown as a dog.
Oh, I was like, what you, who was good at caterpillar?
I was just in the middle of the night hanging out with the dudes, yeah. I was like, look at this. Somebody film me.
It's a caterpillar.
What's up, yeah? Oh my god.
What's up, guys?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, that egg was really good too.
Caterpillar.
Well, I definitely did not know it was poisonous.
Are you a very normal?
Look, I was
caterpillar?
stupid, I was being stupid, but I wasn't that stupid.
You're like, take it that far.
I was 66% stupid.
Which is like just the right amount.
For some quality vines.
Days of Vine were so much better. 6 seconds, that's all we had to see.
Great.
We don't have to watch those 10-minute videos of people talking anymore.
You have mine?
Right at the tail end.
We'll be on Zoom the rest of the day.
It was good to see you.
It was good to see you guys in person. I'm happy I was able to be.
Bye,
here.
Ashlyn.
Bye. See you next time.
Are you going to pet sit?
Yeah.
I thought so. Put those
I
puppies.
usually am.
I hope you have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you. I'll see you guys on Zoom later.
Gator, gator.
Love all.
Love to all. Ho, ho, ho.
And a bottle of rum. Maybe.
Right?
Maybe not. What are we doing after this? Something crazy?
Good question.
I don't know. The lunch time is afternoon, but I forget what you said that meant.
I think Kendra said something about how we have to stay. Oh, yeah. We will go till 5. Yeah.
Girl, you have it.
How's your son doing?
My husband's doing all right. The problem is he started daycare in the middle of December and he's been sick with 3 or 4 respiratory infections. And now we think he has asthma because he's requiring oxygen at home for everyone. We've been in the hospital so many times he can't keep his oxygen up. Pretty much all of February, most of March, he was on oxygen.
So
So,
with tubes up, like,
yep.
and what does the oxygen take look like?
It's like, we have a concentrator that fills them up and then just, we're a little rolling thing, like,
It's just a rolling thing.
yeah, so they think he has asthma, but apparently for kids under 8, I don't know. I feel like I was diagnosed with asthma super young, but for kids under 8 now, they can't test. So they basically just say, we go off the kid's history, we trial medications, if the medications work, we assume it's asthma.
Why, how couldn't they do a test?
They said they don't have a good test for kids under 8.
Okay.
Interesting.
Seems like a crock of shit.
That's what I'm,
For what?
for asthma for kids under 8, they said they don't have a good test for it.
My brother was diagnosed with asthma.
I have asthma, I couldn't swear I got diagnosed as like a baby, but
Yeah,
now.
I think a lot of kids that, I mean, I remember when I was in like 3rd grade, everyone was like inhalers, like everyone had an inhaler.
Right.
And I was jealous because I don't have one. It's like, I want an inhaler. I was like, I want braces and an inhaler. What the
I
heck?
always wanted glasses. I was like,
Me too.
Well, now
I
I'm
just
not
got
really
prescribed
bad,
glasses.
but
I
the kids used to switch like color
like, you know.
bands for their braces.
Oh,
yeah.
I kind of want
I'll switch with you, and then they'd have
Oh,
like rainbows.
yeah. They used to take
them off their mouth, you know?
Oh.
Out their mouth, and so they would have like the little
Oh.
bags. Like their
Oh, I
parents
was
would like
thinking-
send, they would be like, oh, in case they break like during lunch, so they have a bag, and you'd like, you'd be able to like trade. And I was like, trade. I thought one time they were taking it out of their mouth, I was like, oh my god, that is
so
nasty.
gross.
I've seen that like a few times. Like, some people were like, oh yeah.
Oh, she's back.
I forgot my keys. Oh, no.
Leslie told me.
I
that's
lost my
just-
car and now it's like,
Not ever, but she was talking about vaping, and she was talking about how she was trying to instill her kids with an entrepreneurial mindset. So when she lived in California, she would bring vapes back from Colorado, and her kids would sell them at their high school, and she like taught them how to like keep their books. And everything. And she laughed. I'm like, that is so bad. Dude.
yeah,
She's wild.
yeah, that
Like,
that
I'm gonna
doesn't quite surprise me
No.
though. I feel
I'm gonna pretend like you didn't tell me that. Like, there's so many better ways to make money. I was
to
like,
make your kids entrepreneurs and make bracelets or something. Like, anything.
So long.
Yeah.
So long,
It's
sells
like,
cookies.
I was addicted to a vape, you know, for 5 years. She said that, and she's like, that's the only thing I've ever been addicted to. And it made me sour because I've been trying to get my husband to stop vaping, but it wasn't that it's the vaping, like he started lying about it. He's like, oh yeah, I stopped. And like 7 cycles of like finding the vape in his coat pocket or
Yeah.
whatever, so it became a bigger problem. It's bigger than
Yeah,
vaping.
vaping is very shameful for some people, for sure.
It's hurtful.
It-
You shame. Shame them.
For like the first year we were dating, he was like hiding that he was vaping and he would like go into the bathroom and like.
It's so embarrassing.
I'm like, why is that like a Pop-Tart?
I knew that, like, I knew, I'd see his vape in the bathroom. And I'd be like, I guess you're just. It's just in the middle of the toilet, just.
Oh my god, my husband uses Zins.
Yeah,
And he
that's true.
will like, oh, I'm like, he's like, I don't wanna do it anymore. I'm so sick of just like having to go buy a can. I'm like, okay, so just like slowly wean off of that.
Is it the can
Yeah,
with the
the, like, little
nicotine
pouch.
gum?
Yeah.
Those are so popular right now. That's what he moved to.
Yeah, they're so.
everybody loves these ends.
Oh,
And
and
they're
they're
easy to
really
chew.
cheap.
Yeah.
It's like literally just chew.
Everywhere.
Yes. It's just in a packet.
I find them in the bed.
I do.
So the other,
Oh my god, I'm like, what
The other day I did laundry and I took it out and I was like, Anthony?
the next time I have to wash one of these little pouch hands and my entire clothes are soaked in nicotine, I'm
Oh,
literally lose my shit.
This is why I wash my fiance's clothes separate from mine.
I'm
like, yeah.
Yes, it's like a systemic problem.
An issue. The thing is like his breath stopped smelling like vape, it started actually smelling minty.
Yeah, and it is true. It makes it.
It smells fresh, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
learning
like-
this comedy, now that all of our husbands and fiancés were like into that, because my husband like went on a bachelor trip. And he used to like, smoke cigarettes, but not anymore.
Yeah.
But like he came back from the bachelor trip and we found a bunch of Zins in his backpack. I'm like, you're 35.
Smoke or do anything. He came back from his bachelor party and I was like working and then I came out to give him a kiss and I was like, were you smoking cigarettes? And he, because I could just like smell it and he was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, why are you smoking cigarettes? I'm like,
Once in a while, I didn't
Yeah.
do it secretly.
I know.
Yeah, Anthony he met me at the hotel last night, we had a drink and dinner and stuff, and then he like takes it out and puts it on the table, and I just looked at him and went, I just got like the biggest ick, and this is something he does all the time, he was like, he's like, yeah, and he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, happy dog.
Oh,
I was like, you're nasty, you're gross and you're nasty.
Or they'll
You're
get
nasty.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll get to dinner like out somewhere and they're like, oh, where do we put it? I forgot to take.
I always just go swallow it.
Yeah.
yeah, for real.
No.
Feel
One day I drank an Alani drink.
Oh no.
I took my husband's car
No.
I don't like those.
to the gym.
No.
And I just like, I had like a little, I know I had a little bit left and he just took the car somewhere and
Did you drink the pocket?
he said, no, I don't.
Okay.
I took a sip of it and I was like, wow, this is like a minty flavor.
Oh,
what is
No.
He was like, I was like, I'm ready to get sick right now. I have not really had nicotine like left ever, so I freak out about it, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you're not gonna die, you're gonna be fine.
No, yeah. I think it's like I don't know, what would you say? It's like an ADHD-esque calmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it's just kind of like, I think honestly, it's just a habit.
Fixation.
Yeah, I
Wait,
think it's
it
a
is.
oral
It is.
fixation. I think that it's like, I just need something in my mouth.
Like, suck a dick.
You get something in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like some days he's like, oh my god, he's so grumpy. He's like, oh, I just need a Zen. I'm like, that is so bad.
Like, yeah, you're grumpy because you don't have one.
Yeah.
Grow up.
And then he like puts on it and he's like, okay, now I can function. And I'm like, so you're telling me if like those somehow went missing or like, you know, they were like illegal here. He was like, I don't know if I'd be able to function. I was like,
Where did they come from?
These boys.
When did they come out? When did they get popular?
They came out like 2 years ago.
Right? Like, it
Okay.
It's always like a new thing, like there's never gonna be like
Yeah,
no.
people were like,
into it, I feel like.
and then they were like the elf bars.
oh
and then-
yeah.
Can we
What's
just
out
send
for?
our husbands
It's just
on,
a
like, yoga
search
retreat?
engine.
Can you imagine?
It was like
Zen?
that's all it was. They
Zen
taste like candy. pretty much.
Oh,
So
wow.
people were like,
A
elf
Zen
bars.
retreat,
They would
it's
come
like a
out.
whole trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes out like a-
Yeah, everyone like something goes for a while, like elf bars, and
Now it's the cities.
yeah, now it's the Zens.
We're gonna take them on a Zen retreat.
It's because they always say that something's bad for you, because they come out and said that vaping is actually worse than smoking cigarettes for you. Because when you're vaping, it's actually the equivalent of like one cigarette, one like hit on a vape is like the equivalent of one full cigarette. So people like sit and they smoke, it depends on how much nicotine is in the vape, but like the standard vape, it's like one full cigarette, like you take a
That's
big rip.
really the.
It's a cigarette.
I think that's.
So people like hit it over and over again, if you smoke a whole elf bar in a day, that's like smoking a carton of cigarettes. So people are like,
Long.
yeah, so people started like saying like, oh, that's bad for you, so now they're going to the Zins because they're like, oh, there's no smoke in your lungs,
And they take.
you know, but it's still just as bad. It'll actually give you mouth cancer.
Yeah.
lung cancer.
Yeah, I'm like.
Yeah. In my
That's insane.
Crazy
You would think though that if that's exactly true, that anyone who vaped would be like, really,
He's found out my life.
you know what I mean? Like, it'd be like.
I mean, maybe we'll find out.
We'll find out,
Yeah.
maybe, we'll find out.
Nicotine,
like
it's like
packet?
nicotine pouch. It doesn't
But it, like,
have like
sits in your
tobacco,
gum, right?
yeah, it doesn't have tobacco in it. though.
But it, like
It's
seeps
like-
through your gums.
Yeah.
It's
Straight
straight that fucks up your
through.
lungs just as
Well,
much.
and I was gonna say.
I've made a mess in our
lining,
face, I'm
like,
sorry.
Or.
It's all, okay, I'm so glad that like, I made a we're in this headspace, but we're with partners that are.
Yeah, it feels like a support group.
Yeah.
You I'll be in my 300-hour yoga.
Well, it makes you less psychotic, like, are my standards low, like, did I marry the wrong person?
Nah.
They're doing their thing.
I told him this guy, I said, I was talking shit on you, so he's like, what'd you say? And I was like, I said, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. He said, that's not true, you're just trying to fit in. I said. So.
Yeah.
We went to that, Pier Con, and we're about to walk in, and Anthony's like, I was like, don't you fucking dare put that in your mouth right now, we're going in there to be calm. Be calm and meditate. I said, no, not in here.
No,
This is
not-
my
it's
space.
not in this class.
Huh? No, it's nicotine.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
nicotine thing.
Yeah, so it's like no smoke or anything like that, but he was like, I was like, don't.
Does it make people wanna spit? Like you're like.
No,
Think of it like a gum, like a piece of gum that it sits in your mouth that excretes
It's just
nicotine
giving
and
you,
sugar.
yeah, I don't know.
It's like
Doesn't
this,
make
it's
any-
like-
it's
I
not
think it's just, you know, like if you're to
This is a sacred space.
It's So it's like chewing a piece of nicotine gum.
So you don't need to go out and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
You don't need to like.
And I mean, I've had, it's my favorite advice of theirs, you know?
Except
It's like the less stinky, the least stinky.
It could be so.
Did he
Right.
used to smoke?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine didn't, he
Well,
was just like, oh, I tried this, and now he's like.
He's like,
it's
I'm
strong.
addicted.
Oh my, no, like my husband will have his friends over and they're all older than him. They're all like. "Oh, yeah, let's go smoke a cigarette," And I'm just sitting here in my house like. Come into my house, make cigarettes. And
And then make my
freak
whole
out.
house
No,
smell.
I was like, I'm going to bed.
Dude, when we lived in Colorado Springs and we were renting a house, we would, oh my god, we smoked everything in the house. It was so cracky, like crack addict. So like cigarettes, bowls, bongs, like no filtration. And then when we went to the
air,
other house,
just-
I like, I used to do that too. You take a picture off the wall.
Yeah, those
and it's
incense in
all
the
right.
house.
I'm like, oh, it's nasty. I'm like, come on. My grandma came with me to my wedding dress like fitting, and we were in the car, and I was like, Grandma, you cannot smoke the whole ride there because they might not let me try on dresses.
The grandma.
Yeah, I'm like, no, probably not.
I'm gonna make a lot.
Well, you might have been like, she's like, you know.
She's so young, she's so-
No, she was not. You're allowed to pass it, you coming in.
She's got a brown shirt.
Okay,
Reba, you want any coffee? I'm making a picture run.
I was gonna go, you wanna go?
Yeah, you wanna go with me?
You wanna go Dutch? I go to pee.
You
I
want to
will
go
take
to
wherever you wanna go.
Okay.
You better wanna go.
I wanna go wherever you wanna go.
Like you wanna go to Dutch, well, too bad, cause that's where we're going, right? Pop in.
No.
No, none of that. None of that. Hold it.
Hold it.
Hold it all the way to Dutch.
Oh, I know.
There's like one like right talking about our husband's actions and yeah.
They're like, who wants coffee? Ew, Spencer disgusting. We need another cup of coffee.
Literally. That's why when she said that, I was like, I'm beautiful.
Alright, so you
That's
guys want.
fair.
On Friday, we were both like,
Well, we want it. What did she say? I would imagine. Oh, yeah, what do you want? You want a little oatmeal? You like oatmeal, don't you, right? I remember that. You just want a cold brew? Oh, yeah. Okay,
She said it's.
Sophia, you want something?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Ari, you want something? You're good with me, right? All right, what do you want?
I'm good, thanks, bud.
Sure.
Yeah.
She gets a kicker though.
I do. What's the kicker?
It's the flavor.
when they come in the car. And they can't
No, that's like twice the
right, cold
liquid sweetener than the average coffee drink. Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I used to work at the
I didn't know that, and I.
Just let us live. Just want to live.
I left for so long, like yesterday was the first time I've had it in forever.
Wait, yesterday I had definitely a taco.
Nice.
The best Dutch drink is because
Well, I get the white coffee. I think everything with the white coffee is a little bit better. So
I
I
honestly
get,
never.
that's
got
what I
anything
get
but
too,
That
it's really
somebody
good.
got that for me at one point, and I was just like, sick.
This is my drink.
I will drink this because it tastes like sugar, and I'm buzzing. No, my gas station.
white coffee with any of like the almond flavors or like birthday cake or cake batter or oat milk with the almond milk, like the nuttiness. Like the white coffee is more nutty notes. Mhm.
Because no, next time I
I'm
go,
a
actually.
Massachusetts native who only has Dunkin' Donuts. So.
Well, and Dutch Bros is not quality coffee, like I still like the quality latte,
Yeah.
where like they know everything about
Yeah.
the train
Yes.
of
Yeah.
espresso
Yeah.
origin,
Yes.
but
Yeah, I used to work at Starbucks, so I'm like, I could tell you what to get there. But Dutch
Yeah.
Bros, I'm just like.
yeah, it's a whole echelon.
Are we going, you want me to drive or are you driving?
I'm driving.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That's you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Me
get that.
too.
Get in the
really-
car, bitches.
really not-
The second half of the day is so hard. It's
It's
so
true,
hard.
on Sunday too.
Yeah.
Just like,
I woke up today and I was like, I don't know why I was super sore. And
me too.
like my legs felt heavy.
My thighs, and but it was from this thing that we did.
It's because
Well,
we're
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, my thighs.
but also the
We
sitting.
did do a 20-minute sequence that like we weren't super warm for, and like a lot of the peak poses are like a little more. I don't know who your partner was, but I had shoulders
Oh,
with Lexi, and so like
what did I
my
have?
shoulders were
This is a
so sore
big
today.
toe pose.
Yeah,
But I was teaching headstand and so I demonstrated
right.
a lot.
So without doing
That
that,
shouldn't have got my legs.
without us
Unless I was
doing
doing
like
it
a
wrong.
whole lot of asana in the morning though,
Yeah,
like
I was kind of weird that we didn't do asana, but then we went right into our sequence.
Yeah.
It's like, we should have done more to like warm us up.
I think there needed to be a little bit more because
Yeah.
the subtle
was
body
not
stuff
warmed up.
like would have been good on like the
Today.
second part of the day, maybe even
Yeah.
like
or
doing
just,
it later. I would have.
Yeah,
I really need that in the morning.
we need the sadhana in the morning because it's just like so low energy and you don't get it. It's just like, because
Yeah.
we're just sitting for most of the rest of the day.
It's tough.
I don't 100% understand when I would use the joint breed series still. Like it's like,
It seemed like an assessment almost. Like you
yeah,
would use it with a client maybe to just see where their
their body.
little
is.
like imbalances are.
Yeah. She brought it up like, oh, have them do this for 40 days, but then I was like, but aren't we having sadhana for them to do? So they're gonna do
she
this.
said for you to do it for 40 days before you are
Oh,
able to give it.
Before you
Before
give
we
it
give it to
Yeah,
someone.
for
Oh,
other
okay.
people.
So I'm like, we wouldn't give this to our private clients to do necessarily every day because they're
Not
gonna be doing the
necessarily
sadhana.
unless they have something that is bothering, so if they say they have like plantar fasciitis or something like that, that's when you would give it to them, but she wanted us to practice it for 40 days, so that way we had a really good understanding of what it would look like
Yeah.
and what it's supposed to feel like.
Okay.
So that if the client is like requiring some more, like, because they're such small movements, you only have to
It
do it 6
is.
times,
Yeah.
you could make that a part of their sadhana if that's something that they need.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know.
Because I was like, I thought we were giving them a sadhana to do, and
Yeah,
We
because
give
that
them
would
both
on
to
top
do.
would be
yeah, like
really
both.
unrealistic.
I was like, my private client is not gonna do both of those. I feel like I'm gonna tell her, and then she's gonna be overwhelmed and not do that.
But if
I
you
would be
add,
overwhelmed.
yeah,
if I
if
did
you add
anything.
some of the moves to your like asana part of the sadhana,
Yeah, that's a
Then-
good point.
it's just a little bit of extra easy peas.
You got it, right?
Was my understanding,
So full.
No, I think that's
but I also understand like this much until like 3 days from now, then I get a download and I'm like, oh.
I feel like it's my problem with Google Classroom is that there's not a lot of it's all on a screen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
And
stop.
so
Okay.
it's
even though I know where the home, like I have the homework master list and all that stuff, I feel like there's other things that get added in through the stream and that gets me.
Yeah, cause it's not like in one place.
Yes, it's not like I can click there, so I have to look through the stream and then it's easy to miss stuff because some of them are posts and some of them are like, right, I know Lauren posted something about like, if you need to find
Oh,
a
sorry,
client.
yeah.
Like that's gonna go down and I feel like that's where I get confused with things. Or even the join free series, I thought it was confusing how they didn't just link it for us or something, or put it in a manual, or
Yeah, just like put the two pictures in, like here they are.
it was a little,
Yeah.
it
and
turned
I
out
was-
fine, but
I
I
was
was.
confused because I was like, why is the book, but if I find it,
I walk.
Well, yeah, I didn't say like in your book, there'll be these 2 pages.
yeah,
Or you can like Google them,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think it's not necessarily Amazon's fault, I think it's just like the function of
Just have
Google
to
Classroom.
listen more carefully, I guess.
I'm joking, too much.
3 months in now though, so.
Honestly, yeah.
We're like,
You can just leave the napkins and all that in the center.
You think about this.
I mean, we're all right.
It's generally everything.
Yay.
oh, thank you so much, Sheila.
Yeah.
That's our last weekend.
No, that's it. I'm so glad you guys came. Oh my gosh.
Ashley?
She was here.
Oh, yeah, she went to, she's doing the rest on Zoom because she's taking care of a dog.
Oh, okay.
So always taking care of dogs.
That's her job.
Where did you guys go?
Yeah, she has like her own little dog sitting business.
Aw, I was doing that for a while and then I got some really bad dogs and I like lost my mind and I was like, never again.
Did she go to people's house or did they?
She goes to other people's house.
Really? Yeah, I'm getting a dog sitter.
Oh, yeah. You can ask
June
her.
for like, 6 days, 7 days.
Yeah, you should ask her. Yeah,
But I have one, but I'd rather pay her.
right. No, I had this one dog that they brought and they were like, I was like, we're gonna go to the park. And they brought her to the park with us, like to meet, and she did fine at the park and they were like, yeah, she's good. And I was like, okay, they dropped her off and I was like, okay, we're gonna go to the park because we go to the park every day. Bear Creek, the dog park.
Yeah.
And I let her off the leash and she just ran away from me immediately. And then it was like 95 degrees out. My dog's very like furry. So I was like, he can't be out here in the sun and it was like an hour I was trying to get her. And then a guy let her out of the gate. He just like let her out of the gate. And then she started running into the street. She ran into the Bear Creek Regional Park, not the dog park. And then she was like in that area. We kept like trying to see her and then she just like ran into the fields. And me and this other girl, I like called her and I was like, my friend, and I was like, will you come and help me find this dog? And then we were like searching for it, calling it, but I'm like, this dog's not gonna come to me. So I called the people and they were about to get on a flight. So it was like right after they dropped her off, pretty much like within like 2 hours. And then they sent like his wife's friend, and the wife had not talked to me at all, and the wife's friend started screaming at me, and it was like, you let her off the leash when they told you specifically not to, and this and that, and screaming in my face, and I was like, no one ever told me that, and you can find the dog on your own now, because she was just like screaming in my face, and I was like, I'm not gonna sit here
That's crazy.
and help you
Yeah.
when you're screaming in my face.
No.
And I was like, also, he did not tell me that. He did not tell me not to take her off. Because if anyone had ever told me, like, people would be like, don't take the dog off the leash at the dog park, then I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, okay, this dog will run away. And I was like,
Yeah, that seems like vital information.
yeah,
The
like,
person I let him out, that was the weird thing.
yeah. And then, then I said something, I was like, why didn't you just let that dog out? And he was like, well, she was standing at the gate. And I was like,
The dog obviously has a work to do.
yeah, like, something's happening. Serious? And then there was like a few people I know at the dog park, 'cause I go every day, and they were like, we'll help you try to find the dog and stuff. But the dog was just so skittish that anytime anyone got near it, it would just pull
I
away.
didn't have any either.
And so I was like, if your dog is like that, unfortunately, I don't think you can go on vacation. Like, if your dog like cannot.
You definitely have to deal with that before you go on, you know what I mean? Like, you can't test that on the dog sitter,
Yeah,
you know, like,
like anything about that. And then when I was like talking to the guy on the phone,
Yeah.
I was like, every time I go up to her, she like runs window front. He's like, oh yeah, she does that.
Yeah.
Well, oftentimes when she runs away from us, we just find her in a bush somewhere. And I'm like, in a bush? So I'm supposed to go looking through bushes.
What kind of dog was it?
I like a mutt kind of, it was like part beagle. But I was like,
I think that's a problem with the dog sitting like programs and stuff, like they match you to a person,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit like, they don't have to put certain information out there.
yeah, like
and-
they have to tell me. And so ever since then, like I still watch some dogs, but it's only dogs that I've watched before. That I'm
Yeah.
like, these are good dogs. And I don't like put my stuff like online, like I don't accept new people. I only accept new people for the day. So if you're like,
If you're, yeah, that's fair.
yeah, like, oh, because I work from home a lot of the time now, I'm kind of doing different stuff, but for a while I would just accept it, like, oh, like, it's a Friday. Then like, people would be like, we want to go to Pikes Peak or this or that, and I would just like watch their dog. Or,
You know, as a dog owner, because I travel a lot, I'm not doing it now because I want to stop and do yoga, that's it for the rest of my life.
yeah,
But I would travel for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, and so I would need somebody to come to my house or he would go to their house, and so I would interview the dog person. And as soon as they walked in, I knew, because the ones that are really good, they don't even see me, they sit down and they just write the dog. And if the dog comes to them and is like, and then they like give me information, but their focus is on the dog.
Yeah.
And then Quincy, by the time that we're wrapping it up, he will sit on their foot or not.
I know what's
And if he
good.
sits on their foot, he's like, this one.
Yeah, my dog is like very particular, like like has super separation anxiety, but he pretty much has the same dog sitter for like 5 years. But I know because like when he first met her, like some people are like weird about dogs when they kind of like jump. He loves to hug, like he's like light when he jumps. He's not like pushing you down or like scratching you, but he'll like try to like hug you. And some people will be like, and I'm like, okay, but like my dog sitter's like, oh, he's so cute, and then like rubbing his belly. So I know he'll like give belly rubs, which he doesn't do that to everyone. So I'm like, okay, it's so good. But it's really hard to find a good dog sitter. But yeah, I had a lot of horror stories like happen back to back. That was like the one where the girl was like screaming in my face. Then this dog ripped off the sheets of like we had a spare bedroom and it had like a mattress protector and everything on it. The dog literally ripped off all of the sheets, including the mattress protector, and then did its business all over this like $2,000 mattress. And I was like, what the heck? Like we had a mattress protector, we had like everything on it, and it like ripped them off to like go on the mattress. I was like, what? Like we didn't even leave it alone. We were just sleeping. Like we slept overnight and that's what we woke up to. And I was like, oh, why? And then I was just like, it's not really worth the money. Like it's, you don't get paid like that much, honestly. So I was like, this is not worth, I'm like, probably all the dogs I've watched don't even compensate for this one mattress. But people who find good dogs, it's easy if you find a good dog. Like if you're just watching a good dog, it's like so easy. You're just like,
good.
oh, it's so easy.
He's so good.
You met her dog?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's sweet.
Little old man, he's so sweet. He's a rescue.
He likes to do yoga.
When I was in
Oh.
Palestine, and he loves to do yoga, he'll come in and sit when we were practicing. And she was doing down dog or something, he comes in, he looks at her right in the face.
Yeah, he's like,
Aw.
See, I need a dog sitter for this. I'm trying to like. For this monster of a. She's the
See.
biggest sweetheart. She's a
You know,
German
I got
shepherd.
a real, I have two fabulous dog sitters.
Do you?
And one, she and her husband were both Marines. He's
Okay.
studying, she's studying, they're out of the force and everything, but they're really smart, focused people.
Yeah.
And they have 2 dogs this size.
Yeah.
And they go to her house and they play, they walk, they do all of this stuff. She keeps them in their cages, big
Yeah.
kennels. And she's great with dogs.
Okay.
Great. Ryan is from over by, in near Manatee.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, because that's what I usually do is take him to her. Because
Yeah.
And Quincy loves them. Quincy's a little, he got bit when I was living in Mexico by pit bull. Right on the head. Pulled one ear, did the vein. I thought he's just gonna bite his head off. And this was a dog on leash, a puppy though, and they were friends, and the dog just got excited, you know? And so at that point, he was like, big dogs, I don't think I wanna be around you guys. So I was concerned about him going over to Ryan's, but her dogs are so chill and so cool and just loving, you know, they always wanna play, but they're big play.
Yeah.
And he would be like, but then he started getting in it, then he would be like, I'm done with the play. I'm going to my pillow. I'm chill, so please.
Yeah.
be Chill. Yeah, he does, he won't bark at them or anything, he's just super dog.
See, my dog is scared of her own shadow. Like,
Oh.
if I take her on a walk, like, if anybody passes us or even crosses across the road, she runs behind me. She doesn't,
You rescue?
she is,
My dog.
both my dogs are rescued, but we're taking my husband's dog with us because we're going to his family's. So they're okay with like one dog, but like I can't fit all of us in my car.
Right.
It's really tight. Me and my fiance went in my Subaru across with 2 dogs, and my dog's 85 pounds, and the other dog is like 55 pounds, and it was just so.
Well, I'm from North Carolina. Check this out. I had a newborn, a 10-year-old cat, an Australian Shepherd mix, a Rottweiler mix, and a Pit Bull mix. We had 2 cars. So the newborn was with me, and all the animals were or the cat was in the front in a carrier, and all the dogs were in my husband's car. It was a nightmare cross country, and then the cop pulled me over. No. And because I had out-of-state plates, I was going the speed of traffic, but I had out-of-state plates, and technically I was speeding, but so was everyone else. So he pulled me over, and obviously my husband stops behind me because he's concerned. The cop comes in, and I just start sobbing. I'm like, my breast hurts so bad. And I lost it because like my kid was screaming, the cat was howling, I needed to feed my child. I was breastfeeding at the time. And I break down on this cop. He's like, well, here's your ticket. Is that your husband behind me? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, let me go give him a ticket still. You were the part. Like, and this was in New York, so I'm not surprised.
Oh, New York, if you have out-of-state plates in New York,
You get pulled over
you're
like that.
SOL.
Yeah.
But they are a police state. You can get a ticket for like anything.
Yeah.
In Geneseo, if you smoke cigarettes, and you won't know this because it's not posted anywhere, but in certain towns, if you throw a cigarette out your window, you'll get a littering ticket. If you're in your car, they will pull you over and give you a $200 ticket for littering. And
Yeah.
like, it is
No.
bad there.
Like this cop had no sympathy.
No, they do
And-
not.
but
They
New
do
York,
not
that's
care.
how New York
They do
is.
not care.
Yeah, you got out of state
New York
plates.
City is a different.
Well, it wasn't New York City. This was
New York
upstate.
City is all chill.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, where were you driving from and to?
Info
Oh, thank you.
to your mail or phone or messages or.
Messages.
And the opposite is if you have New York plates and you go into Pennsylvania, expect to get pulled over 100%.
Yeah, they're all like.
They do not care. They they hate people from New York and Pennsylvania, so they just pull you over. One time I got pulled over for having too much salt on my car.
Salt?
Yeah, because they use salt for the snow in New York. And he was like, you have too much salt on your car.
You said, what, too much salt in your
And I was
personality.
like, what? What does that even mean? And I was like, what does that even mean? He's like, you need a car wash. And I'm like, I just drove through the snow and that's why my car's dirty. And I was like,
How about you worry about washing your
Yeah.
hair and get off me?
he was like, it obstructs the headlights. And I was like, no, it does not. He just gave me a ticket.
Yeah, that's like total.
Yeah.
I can, and you will get this ticket.
Yeah, cause he's like, I know you aren't gonna come to court, so. That sucks to be you.
I still have Massachusetts plates on my car.
Colorado doesn't care.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Colorado does not care, but a lot of
Lots
them.
out of state too, like, it's just.
Yeah, I'm thinking about changing my plates until they say something. But yeah, no, we started in North Carolina because that was my last duty station. We went up to New York to visit my in-laws and then drove to Colorado.
When did you in?
2011 to 2018.
Were you at Cherry Point?
No.
Oh.
They went for the smart kids and all the aircraft. And it's deploying, that's where you fly out of, but.
Oh, wow. My brother was there, but he was in around the same time you were, so I was wondering if you were in the same
Yes, I am
place.
very serious. Did I
Oh.
see you two are doing the teach on in May? I mean, the Sabna in May?
I'm doing pranayama.
May,
Yeah.
the first one, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm doing the first one too, I've got switched up with Ari.
I
But
switched.
I don't know if that was one of the days, because
I think in July,
that was when we switched
and you're gonna do it in September.
in September, that one, but I've got one in May.
I switched with
Doing-
Lexi, so she has May.
Oh, Lexi has May.
Yeah, 'cause she did May, so I switched.
Okay,
And then it depends if you're in Sophie or Diego too.
I am in, I'm with Bryce. Yeah, I don't know what I'm with.
I would just look at the thing and then send a chat to everyone.
Because you know what, he was in our class today.
Right.
Ryan?
Ryan.
Ryan?
I'm like their names.
And the other one's Bryce?
Yeah.
The other one's great.
So I asked him, how do we set this up? And he said that the person, this was what he did. The person who does the intro sets the tone with the theme. So that everybody after that can maybe integrate whatever that theme is.
That's right, I remember. Only awesome if people will be integrating the theme, because like pranayama is pretty much like straightforward.
Same as meditation.
Yeah,
I'm with Anna already.
But that's what he said.
You're,
That's a good idea.
All of mine are in Sophie, so let me see.
I don't know.
who's doing intro?
I'm intro and meditation
For Sophie.
on Sunday.
I'm assisting.
Bryce.
yeah, cause there's 2 days, we're doing it Saturday
I can
and
look.
Sunday, and there's 2 rooms, so it's 4 Saturday.
Yeah.
I literally signed up like the second that they.
We
said
do it
that thing out,
Saturday
and I
and
don't know
Sunday, and there's
what
2
it
days.
Write it down.
I don't know.
Yeah,
what it is.
there's
I
like
don't
4
know.
topics in the whole
I
week.
wrote it
It's
down.
in there, it's just.
I'm with.
It's like,
Who teaches? Okay, so
And so,
July,
yes,
Saturday.
it's only through
So
with the awesomeness, right? Or.
Yeah.
there's no other-
Who does so much?
Just with that.
Yeah, you're thinking very oddly.
Because he was saying
Like a crazy.
that it's throughout the.
You don't necessarily know why.
I've got to go.
Yeah.
No, you just assist during the asana. Yeah.
I thought we were supposed to go over assist before we started though.
Intro and meditation on my birthday because it'll be like.
We were supposed to do that this weekend, but we did.
Maybe it's having.
Yeah.
This afternoon, maybe that's also.
No, she's doing bio. Amber
Oh,
doesn't
nice.
do assist.
I'm doing awesome.
Okay. He does it.
Oh, no, they said we were supposed to go over assist, because I remember Ryan or someone said it, like, oh, we're gonna do assist.
Over one.
And then he never did. Yeah, Bryce said that. I guess we're gonna go over assist next month, but.
My birthday is
That's what
on the
we
29th.
say, if you're brand new, you
So-
shouldn't sign up for
Not this
assist
week,
for
but
May.
next
That makes sense.
That's what they had said,
Oh,
so
Tuesday,
I signed up for
Tuesday.
assist, because I
You're teaching me
can do
birthday.
assist.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But-
But I'll teach the day.
Yeah.
You're gonna work it in for the people that are.
Okay, that's, I think that's probably what.
And it's because we just did
wait.
6 and 200.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming
have
it's all the same
orientation
because it's the
until-
same
Oh, wait.
sequence.
Well, it might
Wait,
not be the same sequence.
Isn't that the one that's in the book?
Wait,
Whoever's making awesome is creating their
Their
own
own
sequence.
sequence, yeah.
I have orientation.
See, this again, I'm like, all this information is continually note.
Serving board.
Yeah.
I see.
So whoever does awesome makes the sequence.
Is there,
Read it by
is
the
there
field, so
that
it's
we're
really-
working on right now, and that's what they will use in the.
I think whoever does asana each sadhana is doing their own asana, so whatever they want to do. So it's gonna be different. for-
My mom bought me. some.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can do the cameo sequence
A couple miles.
with, you know, shortening it for 45
But
minutes.
whoever's
45
doing awesome on the day you're doing assist, you should probably ask them to send it to you, because if they have like stuff like half moon,
Right.
you don't know how to assist that. So
Right.
you'll have to learn. before.
Right.
Yes.
Me too.
I think I'm like, I'm somehow like trained to like
You, I mean,
move right after eating. I don't know.
So I thought this was good for me.
It's good. I don't like it.
But I don't, I
But
think.
I went like really long, a minute earlier, but it meant 40 minutes total for both people. But like, well, it says 40 minutes, so I thought I had to make a 40-minute sequence.
Oh, is that what happened? You say I see on the schedule.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I was like, how long is it supposed to be? And I was like, "That's long." So then I saw the schedule, I was, oh, it's supposed to be a 40-minute one, so I created a
I brought my lunch. It's a pattern they have. Maybe so.
Now I'm gonna get.
every single thing on the page. I didn't learn like that, so I referenced the document later. And it didn't say on the homework, it just said create your yoga nidra sequence. And when I looked at the schedule, it said 40 minutes. So I'm like,
Right, because it is 40 minutes, but yeah, for both.
but for both. So it wasn't
Yeah,
like
that's
very,
big.
it was confusing, yeah, because I like picture like a 30-minute one.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
so I feel like it's hard to know.
Well,
And she told me, I was like, oh, sorry, guys, I think ran over, cause I did like,
First one.
yeah, and so I like ran over, and I'm like, oh, I feel
Yeah,
bad.
and the thing that part of each grade, like, okay, we have 40 minutes,
We got 10 minutes.
40, and like even the beginner sequence
Oh,
that we.
Yes, yes.
Lauren said she was like, okay, I have to do it for next time, but then we.
Yeah, we did it, so I just did a little 45-minute beginner sequence, but I didn't know if that was like, I did it today.
I know, I was like, so we did that and Eden was like, well, I'm just preparing both just in case.
I same, I just kind of was like, well, like,
Yeah,
I gonna help eventually.
I was like, Laura said we were doing that, so.
So have we done anything on the private?
That's what she's talking about.
that was what we
Okay,
were, so all
But
of the
there's
coaches and all
two
of that.
different types of private.
Right,
Next month
the
we're gonna do it.
physical.
But next month is when we start to talk to our clients.
So
you should send me
But it's after.
So, and then I have two clients, and one was for the emotional, one was for the physical. And
between emotional, okay, so
emotional and.
emotional, so it
Right.
goes like, so you have to get your intake form for your emotional client done this before May. And then in May, they're gonna teach us what to do. And then you have to then you have to meet with them the week after, they said, the week
Well,
after
yeah,
300
yeah.
hour, you have to meet with them. And then you have to send your intake form to your physical client, because in June, you're presenting on your mental, but then right after June weekend, you have to
Then you
start
do
with
your
your physical person
Yeah.
immediately.
See, this is what I'm like. Thank you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
gets a little.
I
bit-
think, yeah, I
Sorry,
feel like, okay.
Kind of a
I know,
big
I was
thing.
like clarifying, I'm just that, 'cause I'm going.
I need a big word of this,
So
'cause
I'm
it's hard to read the schedule.
I
Get confused because we have the schedule, we have the schedule for our sadhana, who's teaching what,
Yeah.
but it's just like.
And then you also have the homework.
And then homework schedules, and then there's homework that I don't even find that schedule. So it's just like they're just like, boom, boom, boom. And,
So worried about sleep.
I think that's where almost more of my stress is coming from, it's not necessarily the work, it's just understanding what I actually need to do. I was mad at Austin for saying this, it's like, oh yay, it's nice to not have to do homework, but I'm like, well, what do I actually have to do, what do I not? I don't wanna like do a bunch of work and stress about it if I didn't have to do it.
Right.
Or
Right.
if it's recommended, or it's like if he's recommending us do something, then we should be able to meet. Then it should be the thing we do. I don't want any optional homework on my thing.
I want like.
That's
this
not-
to-
Tell me what I gotta do and if I do extra, I do extra, but don't like
Like,
Yeah.
confuse me.
I just wanna have that stress of like, oh my god, now I forgot to do that. And no, because that's.
Yeah, I love these pants. I've been wearing them. I'm gonna wear them to death. I know that for sure.
We have anything for like, but it's my wedding and my honeymoon for 2 weeks. So
Is that in May or June?
June, yeah. So I'm like, but they want us to do the private client right after and then follow up with them 2 weeks later. And I'm like, that's literally my wedding. So I'm like, I
I
can't.
think you can ask for any. Okay, any.
Included by the phone. Does it have to be in person?
Or Zoom. I think you can do it on Zoom.
Zoom.
I have to say that they've been really accommodating, like I've had something come up next month and like anytime I've been stressed, I've just talked to them and they're very accommodating, so I don't know, I feel like they will be if you're like, I gotta. But she.
I know, I like,
Oh my God.
I feel like the week before my wedding, it's so many appointments, my family's gonna be in town.
That maybe they'd be okay with you pushing it.
In that time. They're just not.
And that's not, that wouldn't be a reasonable expectation for you, you know what I mean? Like, obviously they have the schedule, but sometimes they're a little like. See, sometimes you are so.
Yeah. That's even gonna go, cause when I started that makeup work, it's like,
I'm like, whatever, maybe I'll.
yeah, all it says is watch the videos and then write a 1-page.
Yeah.
Summary.
Yeah.
Of the weekend,
Oh my.
but then Austin was like, no, if you're missing, you're gonna have to do this to make up, and I was like, then it needs to say that in my makeup work.
It does.
Yeah, it needs to be written somewhere and it needs to be accessible to people who need to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to follow up with them, like you said, but I'm like, I wish there was like more specific, I remember when I did my 200, it was
200 's
very
a little bit
specific.
more.
It was
And I
like,
think maybe
it, to make up for this, you have to do this, you know, it was very like.
Yeah, Sophia just went through that, right, for all the makeup.
Yeah,
So
I'm getting the 300, they're like, you're a big kid now, like you can go and, but for most people, I feel like learning wise, it's a little bit like. I'd rather them have us, like, have it listed out what we have to do. If you have optional stuff, don't throw it into the main frame of things, cause you know what I mean? Like, I just think that it makes me more stressed and I get confused. And if the priority is sauna, I wanna be like, let's prioritize that and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
If the priority is private clients, I wanna know how to prioritize that.
Where do you want to take your yoga career is what you focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're still doing the things, so if I'm doing the things, I wanna be able to at least understand, like,
Yeah.
how I'm gonna structure it throughout a month.
Yeah.
And also, there's things that happen in life, and like, a big wedding, can change it, like.
Yeah, really, yeah, cause my next, yeah, back to California, like now. And it was and I said, can I Zoom it? She's like, and I said, well, I guess I'll fly out on the weekend, because once a month. I said, there's still having never done, I was like, all right, then, we'll begin November.
I don't really understand.
Absolutely, I can.
I think you totally could Zoom it, it's fun.
I
already.
but I'm like, you know,
We
I'm
have the
here,
mid
it's
month,
gonna
but that's
finish.
what we do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the expectation, right?
To go back
They
to
want to, like,
Massachusetts for the summer.
I think that's part of it, and she said July is a big one with, the Shanti coming
Which
in.
I'm excited about.
She does it.
No, I've been, like, yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, my friend told me that's what she does, she'll like play golf,
Yeah.
maybe like.
To be honest, I didn't even realize that she was doing like an entire weekend. I didn't.
I knew she was.
And then-
Not that cute. About it all, until literally this weekend, and I was like, wait, and I was looking at the schedule, cause I was like, am I gonna be gone? And I was like, I'm so sad if I'm gone.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm like,
The biggest.
of course.
People say that's like the biggest feedback. So I was
Right.
like, other people.
Like, if I was from
taking it,
Massachusetts
so I
and I
was
went, I'd be like,
gone, and it wasn't on the schedule. So I was like,
Are you gone?
but I'm not.
We're doing
Oh.
Rockland.
So you're married in June,
Yeah.
but then do you go, are you going on any trips?
Yeah, we're going to.
Nice.
We're going to Europe, we're going to Iceland. We're gonna travel in a camper van and like stop at like all the hot springs. We're gonna go around like the, you know, the.
That sounds like a-
That's what my son thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're gonna do like a camper van, hot
2
springs.
years.
Grab and like back and like hikes, if I can, and then we did reserves for 2, and then we got out. It's not like super good, mine is like, oh. There's like a long real metal screw, but like a screw that your bone absorbs. So she was like, it's
Yeah.
actually the pain from like your bone absorbing. Or she said, you know, if it keeps happening or
And
gets
you
worse,
guys
I might have a stress fracture from like
I did like 10 years ago. Get a fracture, you can get another fracture on top of a fracture.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, so is it something where it's the knee, right? Oh, okay.
So I currently have a lot of.
It's a good note. That, yeah.
That is the.
Yeah. Are you able to?
Yeah.
That's well. Maybe, that's a real thing, like, I know that's like, nuclear vagina. Cause I had recently had a knee problem and I've just been biking everywhere, just to like, and I'm like, okay, at least there's that.
You know, I'm like.
And she was sort of, they were doing and so they were all in the theater. And but she saw a live grenade with her guys and she started jumping on
The hard part is that, you know, this that is like, it's kind of an issue, like,
it. Destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So,
They gave them.
there yet, it is hard with, yoga to me is a component of my fitness. Yeah. I don't always do that yoga and stuff, because I feel like there's something really wrong. So I feel like it's cool, hold on.
Maybe you should go like 2 days at the gym. Well, Saturday.
But she was able to put this guy around.
Yeah.
And she was not really appreciating it.
Yeah, that's,
But I'm like,
it's a lot.
I was thinking about
And then, yeah, time wise, it's like,
I think so. So that was not just 5 years, like 3 jobs.
Strong.
Even though you're too strong for sleep.
My son was like, yes.
but like, I tried, but the other side was like, you have to, it is that physical, like, commitment to your, picking up classes, doing things like, take stage. Jumping in it, which is its own, like, not much fast commitment, yeah, even if you're not, you have your own power, every time, it's like, okay, how much time can I leave?
I like it.
Where we're at, you're over there.
What's that? Oh, those just, they never left the room.